بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن ابن شهاب عن سعيد بن المسيب أنه بلغه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: من أكل من هذه الشجرة فلا يقربن مساجدنا يؤذينا بريح الثوم. قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن عبد الرحمن بن المجبر عن أنه قال: كان سالم ابن عبد الله إذا رأى الإنسان يصلي وهو يغطي فاه جذب الثوب جذبا شديدا حتى ينزعه عن فيه.
قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن ابن شهاب عن سعيد بن المسيب بلغه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: من أكل هذه الشجرة فلا يقربن مساجدنا يؤذينا بريح الثوم. قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن عبد الرحمن بن المجبر عن سالم بن عبد الله أنه كان إذا رأى الإنسان يصلي وهو يغطي فاه جذب الثوب جذبا شديدا حتى ينزعه عن فيه.
قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن ابن شهاب أنه بلغه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: من أكل هذه الشجرة فلا يقربن مساجدنا يؤذينا بريح الثوم. قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن عبد الرحمن بن المجبر عن سالم بن عبد الله أنه كان إذا رأى الإنسان يصلي وهو يغطي فاه جذب الثوب جذبا شديدا حتى ينزعه عن فيه.
حفظت the previous one. يلا سمع.
قال حدثنا ما جاء بالهاجرة،
باب ما جاء في النهي عن الصلاة بالهاجرة.
حدثنا أبو مصعب قال حدثنا مالك.
The one on زيد بن أسلم عن زيد بن أسلم
عن يسار أنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن شدة الحر في جهنم فإذا اشتد الحر فأبعدوا عن الصلاة. وقال: اشتكت النار إلى ربها فقالت: ربي أكل بعضي بعضها فأذن لها بنفسين، نفس في الشتاء
في كل عام،
نفس في الشتاء ونفس في الصيف.
ممتاز. طيب، بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما إلى علمنا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. فوصلنا إلى آخر أبواب كتاب وقوت الصلاة, the last hadith in the section of the book known as وقوت الصلاة or أوقات الصلاة, and it is باب ما جاء في النهي عن دخول المسجد بريح الثوم وتغطية الفم في الصلاة. باب ما جاء عن النهي عن دخول المسجد بريح الثوم وتغطية الفم في الصلاة. I'm trying to think how I want to talk about it today. طيب, first off نبدأ بالأسانيد. الأسانيد سهل إن شاء الله. قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن ابن شهاب. Who is ابن شهاب؟
أحمد بن أبي بكر الزهري. أحمد بن أبي بكر.
أحمد.
محمد بن مسلم ابن شهاب الزهري.
محمد بن مسلم، أي محمد اسمه محمد بن مسلم ابن عبيد الله ابن عبد الله ابن شهاب الزهري. That's Ahmed. That's Abu Mus'ab. No, الزهري, when we say الزهري.
I got them too mixed up. These are
الزهري is Abu Bakr. As far as Abu Mus'ab الزهري هذا Abu Mus'ab. Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Muslim ibn Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. It's important to remember that name because if you go look up the books of biographies and you try to look up a person by name, you look up Muhammad ibn Shihab, you won't find him. Remember, you got to know his name, Muhammad ibn Muslim, ibn Ubaidillah, ibn Abdullah, ibn Shihab az-Zuhri. But he's known as Muhammad ibn Shihab or just ibn Shihab, right? Even though his father is not Shihab, it's his great-great-grandfather. He was born, they say, around the 50s after the Hijrah. Some of them say the easy thing to remember is 58. That's the year Aisha died. But a lot of them say 50 or 51, 52, 53, right? But if you remember 58, the year Aisha died, and build that as your bridge to connect to everything else, right? Or before that, right? 58 or before that. That's the year Aisha died. And he died in the year 124. Some of them say the year 123. And does anybody remember something special about him? It's something really special about az-Zuhri.
124.
124, 123, they disagree. Some people say 125. We'll say 124. But, or if you say 125 to remember him with, no, I think it's Sabi'i, he died 127, so never mind.
Was
But
he Mudallis?
no, he كان يرسل كثيرا, but he wasn't Mudallis.
Yes.
He used to do a lot of irsal, but he wasn't Mudallis. When you're memorizing a biography, always try to have 5 things: the name, right? Who they are, their nasab, as much as you can go back, at least a father and a grandfather, their lineage, their nisbah, where they're from, either what tribe or what location. Az-Zuhri, that's his tribe, Bani Zahra, right? Qurayshi. Their kunya, right? We know his kunya Abu Bakr. Their death and their birth and their death, if you can get them. Those 5 things are things you want to have. Then it makes you even more stylish. It makes you even more handsome in this field if you can remember something unique about them. And that way, every time you come across them, you just build one more thing on one more thing. So az-Zuhri, from the things that you want to build off of when it comes to his biography, is that he's the first person to gather hadith in a book. Right? Ala Amr Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, when he commanded the people to start compiling hadith. And to say he's the first one to gather it in a book is not right. And that's the translation. The word is awwala man dawwana as-sunnah. The first one who made books of hadith, right? Because there were Sahaba who had hadith written down and things like that, but az-Zuhri was the first one, wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, was the first one to actually compile hadith in a book, right? So in his time, remember, Umar bin Abdul Aziz was the Khalifa from 98 to 101. So he had a short time period. In his time period, he commanded people to write books of hadith. And he commanded specifically az-Zuhri. And so from 98 to 101, Zuhri is in the field of writing books. There were no books of hadith written before him, right? Like how we have the Muwatta and Bukhari and Muslim and things like that. There were no books of hadith written before az-Zuhri. He was the first one to really have books of hadith like we have now. And so remembering that about him is a good place to start. And they say he had about 2,000 hadith.
What's the name?
No, it's Marwiyat az-Zuhri. Az-Zuhriyat, right? The hadith of Zuhri. Now, from the scholars of the past are those who used to pay specific attention to Zuhri's hadith, like Muhammad ibn Yahya ibn Faris al-Dhuhli, right? Imam al-Naysabur. He used to be really good in the hadith of Zuhri. And you'll find that when they talk about certain scholars, they'll talk about them, that they used to be really good in the hadith, because Zuhri's hadith are the foundation of Islam, right? Zuhri is, one of the keystones of Islam and hadith. And they said he had about 2,000 narrations, right? And about 90 of them, he's the only one who narrates them, right? So there's 90 points of information in Islam that you can only get from Zuhri, right? وَقَوْلُ مُسْلِمٍ رَوَى الزُّهْرِيُّ تِسْعِينَ فَرْدٍ كُلُّهَا قَوِيُّ. Muslim said that az-Zuhri narrates about 90 hadith where he's the only one, and all of them are authentic, right? So that's some information about az-Zuhri. When we talked about him, who was Sheikh Malik, right? Who was Sheikh Malik. After that he says, عن سعيد بن المسيب. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, who was he? Anybody remember? Min al-Fuqaha as-Sab'a. Okay. Huh? Afdal al-Tabi'in, Sayyid al-Tabi'in. Okay. But who is he? Remember the 5 things. What's his name? Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib ibn al-Hazn. Right? Try to get at least a father and a grandfather when you're doing a biography or somebody, when you're doing who somebody is. Right? Because if you just get the name, too many people have the same name. You just get the father's name, you'll find a lot of people might share in the because the Arabs do that. Hafs ibn Umar. Everybody's Hafs ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Muhammad. Everybody's Abdullah ibn Muhammad. You see what I'm saying? So you got to figure out a way to get them separated. And so to go to the grandfather usually helps. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib ibn Hazn. And remember we talked about the story. We said that his grandfather Hazn was a Sahabi. And the Prophet wanted to change his name. And Hazn, he said, no, I'm not going to change my name from that which my father gave me. And so Sa'id, he said, so that huzuna is still in us today. That roughness, that sadness, that harshness is still in us till this day. He should have changed his name, right? That can help you remember him, his father, his grandfather. What's his kunya? There's certain tricks to help you remember kunyas. There's a lot of tricks. For example, somebody named Muhammad, his kunya is probably what? Abu Abdullah, right? Another trick might be somebody who has a famous family member, like their grandfather or their father, their kunya is probably that person's name. Abu Umar, Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar, right? Because they used to name after their family and their relatives. Another trick is if there's a famous person in history, their kunya will probably be that person's child. Abu Ishaq Ibrahim. You see what I'm saying? They'll go like that. And there's tricks like that. Certain regions can tell you what a person's kunya is going to be. Right? Abu Bakr, Bani Umayyah, a lot of times, right? If you hear somebody named like Abu Hussein or something like that, you kind of know, okay, maybe he's from Iraq, right? Abu Qasim, right? In the later generation, you'll know where they're coming from. And they name after people they love. This person, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, his kunya was Abu Muhammad. Abu Muhammad, Sa'id ibn Musayyib ibn Hazn, al-Qurashi, trying to remember what tribe specifically from Quraysh. No, was he from Quraysh? No, he wasn't from Quraysh. He wasn't from Quraysh. Because his father Hazn wasn't from Quraysh, if I'm not mistaken. His grandfather Hazn was from Yemen. Ala kulli hal. He was born year 15 and died in the year of the Fuqaha, 94. Amal Fuqaha, 94. What's something unique about him? What's a good building place for him? Something that he stands out, makes him stand out, that you remember about him.
The Khalifa at that time ordered to go to Medina with the soldiers and kill everybody there.
He?
No, not him, the Khalifa at that time.
That ain't got nothing to do with him.
Well, that's how I remember that.
That's how you remember. That happened during his time. Yeah, that happened. That's Harwa. Yeah, Al-Harwa. That's true. Yeah, okay. If that's what you remember, that's what you remember.
That's what I remember from him.
You don't remember Abu Hurairah being his father-in-law?
No.
Right? He's the son-in-law of Abu Hurairah. That's like you say, now you got 2. And every time you read about him, you just get one more piece of information until 3 years down the line, you know his whole biography. You see what I'm saying? Because you just kept adding one piece. Constantly revisit who he is. But yeah, that's true about Al-Harra. But he was the son-in-law of Abu Hurairah. Sayyid al-Tabi'in, the best of the Tabi'in. And he was from the Fuqaha as-Sab'a. Every time we cover it, we repeat it. Because you got to remember who the Fuqaha as-Sab'a are. Right? These are the Fuqaha that Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, when he was the governor of Medina, used to use them as his personal advisors. And when there was a big issue or something came up, nobody in Medina would say anything until these 7 talked. Who are the Fuqaha as-Sab'a? إذا قيل من في الفقه 7 أبهر روايتهم عن علمي ليس بخارجة فهم عبيد الله عروة قاسم سعيد أبو بكر سليمان خارجة. If it said who in fiqh are 7 oceans, their knowledge never goes out, their narration never goes outside of knowledge, then they are Ubaydullah. Got to know who Ubaydullah is. Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah ibn Utbah ibn Mas'ud. Right? The nephew of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah ibn Utbah ibn Mas'ud. فهم عبيد الله عروة. We know Urwa now, right? That's our buddy, Urwa. Urwa ibn al-Zubayr. فهم عبيد الله عروة قاسم. Who is Qasim? Ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq. Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr ibn as-Siddiq. Right? His father Muhammad was raised in Ali's house. Right? Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr was raised by Ali. فهم عبيد الله عروة قاسمون سعيد Sa'id ibn Musayyib Abu Bakr. This is the one I always forget. His lineage. Abu Bakr ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Harith ibn Hisham al-Makhzumi. And they disagree about him. Some people say it was him. Some people will say it was Abu Salama, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. And some people say no, it wasn't either one of them. It was Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar. Right? But the poem, Abu Bakr, Sulaiman ibn Yasar, the brother of Ata ibn Yasar, wa Kharija ibn Zayd ibn Thabit, right? The son of the translator of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the scholar of Medina, Zayd ibn Thabit. So those 7 people with disagreement about Abu Bakr ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Harith ibn Hisham al-Makhzumi are what are known as al-Fuqaha al-Sab'ah. You want to memorize them. You want to memorize that poem. You want to get to know them because these are the 7 when you read the books of the Musannafat and the Tabi'een, the Aqwal al-Tabi'een. These are the people that you're going to hear talking a lot, right? Because they were in fiqh, right? They were in hadith also, but a lot in fiqh. Some of them, covered both fields. But people like Sulaiman, right? He was more in fiqh than hadith. And Kharija was more in fiqh than hadith, right? طيب. So that's Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. أنه بلغه. And the riwayah of the Muwatta by Yahya, he just says, أن Rasulullah. He doesn't mention that it reached him. But in other than the Muwatta, the hadith is connected from the pathway of Abi Hurairah. So the narrator that Sa'id ibn Musayyib is getting this from is Abu Hurairah. And in other than the Muwatta, from Ibn Shihab and Sa'id ibn Musayyib and Abi Hurairah. And Abu Hurairah, we already know, Abdul Rahman ibn Sakhr al-Dawsi, who died in the year 58, Rawiyatul Islam.
58?
Huh?
Died 58?
58.
Same as Aisha?
Same as Aisha, yeah. He prayed on Aisha, then he died slightly after her. He narrated 5,374 hadith. That's Abu Hurairah. طيب, the next isnad, and just to get the asanid out the way, the next isnad is قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن عبد الرحمن ابن al-Mujabbar, or al-Mujabbar, right? Does the print have L on it, or it just says Abdul Rahman Mujabbar? It says L? Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking it had it without the L. Naam, Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujabbar ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab. His name is Abdul Rahman. His father's name is al-Mujabbar or al-Mujbar, but his real name was Abdul Rahman. So his name was Abdul Rahman, and his father's name was Abdul Rahman, and his grandfather's name was Abdul Rahman. So he's Abdul Rahman ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab. There is no other Abdul Rahman ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Abdul Rahman besides him. In the narrators of hadith, he's the only Abdul Rahman ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Abdul Rahman. Right? There's no other 3 Abdul Rahmans besides him. Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujabbar, the narrator, the teacher of Imam Malik, kana thiqah. He was reliable, even though he's not found in any of the 6 books. There's no narrations of his in any of the 6 books. But he's from the teachers of Imam Malik, and Imam Ahmed narrates a hadith of his in the Musnad. But you won't find him in any of the 6 books, a biography for him. Ibn Falas, he said he was thiqah, as well as Ibn Hibban. He said he was thiqah in a thiqat by Ibn Hibban. He has a son named Muhammad, who is also from the Atba' al-Tabi'een, but his son is extremely weak, or very weak, right? Muhammad ibn Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujabbar. You have to know the difference because, and I have to research it more, but Ibn Abdul Barr, he mentions that Yahya ibn Ma'in said that Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujabbar was weak. And then Ibn Abdul Barr says that, but that doesn't mean anything. Yahya got it wrong. But Yahya says that Muhammad ibn Abdul Rahman is weak. Laysa bi shay. So does he also say it about his father or not? I have to go back to the actual book to see, does Yahya speak about Abdul Rahman? But if not, everybody says Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujabbar is thiqah. He died as a young man, and they don't know exactly when he was born or when he died. His father, al-Mujabbar, whose real name was Abdul Rahman, the son of Abdul Rahman al-Asghar. Umar, he had 3 children named Abdul Rahman. One of them was a Sahabi, Abdul Rahman ibn Umar, Sahabi. That's the oldest. Then you had Abdul Rahman ibn Umar, the middle one. That's the one who got drunk, and Umar lashed him, and then he died, and he finished lashing the grave, right? That's his middle son, or the middle Abdul Rahman ibn Umar al-Awsat, or al-Awsat. And then you have Abdul Rahman ibn Umar al-Asghar, who was the grandfather of Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujabbar. Abdul Rahman al-Asghar, he died when his wife was pregnant with al-Mujabbar. He died when his wife was pregnant with al-Mujabbar. And they say that the reason he got the nickname al-Mujabbar is because when he was born, Hafsa bint Umar said that maybe Allah will fix with you the hardship that we're going through from Abdul Rahman dying. He'll be the cast or the remedy. You know, a jabra is that cast or something that you put to fix a break. And other people say, no, she called him that because he fell when he was young and broke his bone. And so the people started calling him Mukassar, the one with the broken bone. And she said, no, he's al-Mujabbar, the one whose bone has been fixed, right? And so that's how he got the nickname al-Mujabbar, but his name is actually Abdul Rahman. So our narrator, Abdul Rahman, and he narrates a narration on Uthman, and inshallah he was thiqah as well, right? He narrates that Uthman he went out to see the people who were surrounding his home, and he gave the salams to them, but those people didn't return the salams. That's al-Mujabbar. So Abdul Rahman ibn al-Mujabbar ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Umar, right? Fiqh, inshallah, from the teachers of Imam Malik. He narrates on Salim ibn Abdullah. Salim ibn Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab. Abu Umar. His kunya is Abu Umar, and it's also said that his kunya is Abu Abdullah or Abu Ubaidullah. But we'll call him Abu Umar. كان أشبه الناس بأبيه. He was the most resembling of the children of Abdullah to his father. And Abdullah ibn Umar was the most resembling of Umar's children to his father. So Salim, they used to say there was nobody who lived more like the people before us, right? And this is in the time of the Tabi'een. They're talking about the people before us. They're talking about the Sahaba. They said there's nobody amongst us who lived more like the people before us than Salim. from the stories about Salim, they say he was born in the Khilafah of Uthman, the Khilafah of Uthman. So obviously he didn't reach his grandfather. Does anybody remember when Uthman was the Khalifa? Remember, you have to document these things or try to keep track of these things, because a lot of times they'll just give markers of generational people by things that happen. And if you don't know when they happen, you don't know the time frame. Uthman was the Khalifa from 23 till 35, 12 years, right? That was the time that Uthman was the Khalifa. So he was born somewhere during the time of Uthman, during the Khilafah of Uthman. And they say that the Arabs, Quraysh specifically, they used to not like to take slave girls to have their babies, right? Kanu yakrahuna at-tasabi. They used to dislike having their slave girls be the mothers of their children, right? They wanted to keep their lineage, right? But when 3 children of slave girls became the scholars of Medina and the Qurra and the ulama of Medina, everybody started taking slave girl baby mamas, right? Who are the 3? Salim ibn Abdullah and Ali ibn Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib and Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Yeah, he was the son of a slave girl, right? And the story of that is that they say Yazdarjad the third, Yazdarjad, right? The Persian Tsar, the last Persian Tsar, Yazdarjad. When they conquered him, his daughters were taken as captives and brought to Umar. And they were valued, and Ali bought them. Ali ibn Abi Talib bought them. And he gave one to his son Hussein, and he gave one to the son that he was raising in his house, Muhammad, and he gave one to Abdullah ibn Umar. And so those 3 women, the daughters of Yazdarjad, the prince of Persia, if you like, the Tsar of Persia, those sisters are the mothers of these 3 scholars. And these 3 scholars are from the most prominent scholars of their time. Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, they call him Zainul Abidin, right? The decoration of all of the worshippers. He died in the year 94. Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq, right? And we said he died in 94 too, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or was it 101 or 106? And then Salim ibn Abdullah, we'll talk about, they say he died in the year 106. So that's something interesting about his birth. They say that he was dark-skinned, right? Shadid al-Udma, really dark. He had a white beard and white hair. And he was coarse, right? His hands were rough, his body was rough, because he used to do things with his own hands. Wakana Zahid, and he was somebody who was away from the dunya. He used to wear woolen clothing, the amount of which wouldn't exceed 2 dirham. And there's a story they mentioned that some of the people from Egypt, they came to ask Salim some questions. So when they got approached where he was at, they heard the screaming of a sheep or a camel. And so when he came out and he was wearing that woolen clothing, looking poor and tattered, they said, "Is your master home?" They said to him, "Is your master home?" And he said, "What do you want?" He said, "We came to ask Salim some questions." He said, "Well, I'm Salim. They said, "Well, we want to ask you some questions." He said, "Go ahead and ask." And he answered their questions while his hand was still covered in the blood and the guts of the animal that he just slaughtered, right? And they say that nobody was more like the people before. That's that, like, to me, that story is nice. That's just that manhood, you know what I mean? Like, I don't got to get prissied up. I just came from slaughtering, but my knowledge is with me. I have it right now. Go ahead and ask, and I'll go wash my hands later. From his aestheticism and his zuhud, he was the uncle of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, right? Remember, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, his father Abdul Aziz, married the son of one of Umar's sons. Abdul Aziz married the daughter of one of Umar ibn al-Khattab's sons, right? So Salim was the uncle of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. One day, Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, who was the Khalifa, right? He was the uncle of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. He was the second Khalifa after Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. You had Walid ibn Abdul Malik, and then you had Sulaiman. Sulaiman requested that Salim come and visit him. And when Salim came to visit him, he was in bad clothes. And Sulaiman didn't stop like praising him and loving him and like talking good to him and making him close until he sat him with him on his seat next to him, right? And one of the people who was in the gathering, they said to Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, your uncle couldn't find no better clothes to wear, right? To come and visit the Khalifa, he couldn't put on no better clothes. And so Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he said, I don't see the fact that my uncle's bad clothing has reduced his position any. And the person who was saying this, he had on some nice, silk, like really nice clothes. I won't say silk, but some really nice clothes. He said, just as I don't see that your nice clothing has advanced you further anywhere, right? So that's just a nice story that I liked about the biography of Salim. Salim ibn Abdullah, Ghalib, Abiyad, Shadid al-Udn. What else do we have about him? From the Fuqaha al-Sab'a, we mentioned Abdullah ibn Mubarak. He mentioned him instead of Abu Bakr ibn al-Harith. He said that Salim ibn Abdullah was from the Fuqaha al-Sab'a instead of Abu Bakr ibn Abdul Rahman ibn al-Harith ibn Hisham al-Makhzumi. From the stories they mentioned about his death, one of the things about Salim is that he was really good looking, right? He had good skin and a good demeanor. And the Khulafa used to like that about him. Like Sulaiman Abdul Malik, he asked him once, وَرَآهُ حَسَنُ الشِّحْنَةِ, and he saw him in good color, like his skin had a good color to it, and he looked good in the way that he was presented. He said, how you get like that? What you eat? Right? What you eat? He said, I just eat bread and oil. And if I have some meat, I'll eat that. And so Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he said, وَتَشْتَهِي, do you really like meat? He said, if I want some, I'll eat it. If not, I'll save it till later. And this was how he was. People noticed how his good color, right? You see somebody look good, you want to know how they got it. And you got to think, like, I like to think of these stories because at a time like that, like, it takes money to have good health. It takes money to look good and to feel good and to have good health. Even though this person is living poor, he's living like a zahid, living like his father. They say one of the stories about him is that they went to his father's house and they saw that everything in his father's house didn't equal, I want to say 80 dirham. And then they went back later to his father's house and they saw that everything in there didn't equal the amount of a taghiyah. Meaning if you were to sell a kufi, a taghiyah, a kalniswa, everything in Abdullah bin Umar's house didn't equal that. And then when they went into Salim's house, they saw it the same way. But in spite of that, he still looked good, still looked healthy. So later on in life, Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, who was the Khalifa after Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, when making Hajj, he saw Salim ibn Abdullah, and so he asked him, how you look so good, right? What you eat? And he said the same thing, I eat meat and bread, and if I'm not hungry right now, I might, save it for later, cover it up for later. And they say that when this happened, Hisham ibn Abdul Malik gave him the ayn, gave him the evil eye, and he died from it. And during the janazah, Hisham ibn Abdul Malik is the one who made salat over him after they came back from Hajj. He saw how many of the people of Medina came out to pray over Salim. And he said, man, it's a lot of people in Medina. And so he, he drafted a large number of the people of Medina to go to battle. And none of them returned. They all died in battle. And so the people of Medina, they used to take a bad omen from Hisham ibn Abdul Malik. They said he gave our scholar the eye and he died. And he gave our city the eye and they died. Right? And that was in the year, some of them say 106, some of them say 105, 107, but we'll say 106. That's Salim ibn Abdullah, Abu Umar, al-Qurashi al-Adawi. He, like we said, he was born in the Khilafah of Uthman and he died in the year 106. Nobody talks bad about him. Except that they say that they disagree about who was more reliable, him or Nafi'. Nafi', the free slave of Abdullah bin Umar. They say they disagreed in 3 hadith. Right? Those two, they disagreed about 3 hadith. All of the hadith that they disagreed about, Salim says it on his father, on Umar, on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. While Nafi' says it on Abdullah, on his father, Umar's statement. So they disagree is the hadith or the statement of Umar. They say that Salim was more noble than Nafi', but Nafi' got these 3 hadith right. They said that Nafi' got these 3 hadith right. And they mention Imam Ahmed. We know that what's the best chain according to Bukhari? Malik and Nafi' and Abdullah bin Umar. Imam Ahmed said, no, the best chain is Zuhri on Salim on Abdullah bin Umar. That's the best chain. So this Salim is in one of those, what they call the golden chains, silsilatul dhahab. He's in one of those golden chains. طيب. So that's the narrators of these 2 hadith. In the chapter, ما جاء في النهي عن دخول المسجد بريح الثوم وتغطية الفم. سؤال. Why? Huh? What does this have to do with wuqut as-salat? You're just not asking yourself that question? What does this have to do with wuqut as-salat? Wouldn't it have made more sense to put this chapter in the chapter that deals with the masjid? Kitab al-Qibla, right? The masajid, what to do when going into the masjid, how to go into the masjid, not going into the masjid. Why is that chapter here? And why these 2 issues? Right? Doesn't it just seem random? من دخل المسجد نهي عن دخول المسجد بريح الثوم وتغطية الفم في الصلاة. Why? You always want to ask yourself questions like that, right? Especially in people who are known for their good chaptering. Right? Imam Malik's one of the first people to do chapters. So you want to ask yourself that question. Bukhari, right? Known for his good chaptering. So you want to know, why did he? It's not random. They must have had some purpose in doing it. So I want you to be thinking about that as we talk about the hadith. As far as the first hadith, قال أبو موسى حدثنا مالك عن ابن شهاب عن سالم عن سعيد بن المسيب أنه بلغه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من أكل من هذه الشجرة فلا يقربن مساجدنا يؤذين بريح الثوم. طيب, whoever eats from this tree. Huh? In the riwayah of Yahya ibn Yahya, it has من أكل من هذه الشجرة. Accent. In the riwayah of Abu Mus'ab, there's no min. من أكل هذه الشجرة. In the riwayah of Yahya, من أكل من هذه الشجرة فلا يقرب مسجدنا, وفي رواية مساجدنا يؤذين بريح الثوم. طيب, شجرة. That's our first word. Everybody know what a shajara is? I think that was me and you having this conversation, right? What's a shajara? Tree? Ant.
That's what I always know.
Right? And this is where Arabic becomes very helpful, right? You guys know the ayat, وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ. What's that about? Huh? وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ. Yalla, you got your smartphones.
Yeah, what about it?
Bring it. What's it about? What's
It's about trees and stars.
wrong? That's what I'm saying.
I thought it was.
That's why I want you to do some work. Do some work.
So it's plants.
Do some work.
What you want me to do?
وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ.
What about it?
Look it up. These are the exercises that or even just the translation or just something like.
They'll say trees.
Will they?
I think so.
Yeah, that's the point.
All right, let me look it up right now.
Look it up right now. You got to be in the habit of
stars and trees.
Stars and trees?
That's what they said.
Oh, okay.
That's what they said.
Okay. That's what you do. I mean, you have all of these tools at your hand. And nowadays, everybody's using AI.
I go on dictionary now.
Right? No. That's fine. That's fine. You want to go dictionary, go there too. Anybody else, or everybody got stars? Trees and stars prostrate, right?
Even
plants that do not have a stem and trees prostrate to Allah.
That's the Quran?
Brief tafsir.
The brief tafsir?
Yeah.
Okay. So he has something different. What you got?
Trees and stars.
Right. So, although the word najm can be...
Bush too.
Huh?
On the diction, bush.
Bush. Yeah. Although the word najm can be star, this is where that language helps. A lot of them say that no, in this ayah, والنجم والشجر والشجر يسجدان, bushes and trees prostrate to keep that mujanasa, to keep the topic similar, the things being talked about the same. What's the connection between the stars and the trees? Some people say it's the stars and the trees, but other people say no, it's a najm والشجر. طيب. They translate it as bush. What's a najm and what's a shajar? Ibn Abbas, he said what? You know. Huh? A najm is what doesn't have a stalk.
Right.
And a shajar is what does have a trunk or a stalk. Ma laysa lahu sa'. This is what Ibn Abbas says in the tafsir of the difference between the two of them.
Right.
But garlic. Is it a tree or a najm?
It's a shajar.
It's a shajar?
Oh yeah, obviously it says it right there.
It says it right there, but isn't that problematic?
Why?
I thought a shajar had a trunk.
It does have a trunk.
Garlic has a trunk?
Bush.
But you said a najm is a bush.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You looked it up and said it.
Star.
No, you looked it up and said.
Shajar.
Oh, shajar is a bush.
Yeah, I looked up shajar.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, shajar is a tree.
It says bush too.
A bush. Yeah, bush.
On the
Because what do bushes do?
They have like those roots down there. Trees is moving up.
The branches all intertwine.
Right. Yeah.
Just like trees, when they get tall, their branches do what? They all intertwine. And that's why when two people argue, what do they call that? Tashajara. ثم لا يجدوا فيما شجر بينهم فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم. Right? What trees amongst them? No, what gets in between them and starts mixing up from their statements against each other. So a shajar, it really is from that tadakhul, from that intermingling one part onto another. And they say it's anything that yanmu ila sama binafsihi. Anything that grows up towards the sky by itself. Whether it's thick or thin. Whether it can stand the winter or not. That's a shajar.
It could be a mushroom then.
Anything that grows up by itself,
Yes.
whether it's thick or thin, like a flower, right? And when you look at it, that's when you see, okay, because some people find a problem with this. How could they call the garlic and the onion and the leek, how can they call that a tree? It's not a tree. It's not a shajar. It doesn't grow up tall. It doesn't have a trunk, right? They grow underground. They're roots. But those roots grow flowers, and those flowers are like those thick weeds. You ever seen them thick weeds in your lawn? They have that purple, right? If you look at the flower of a garlic or an onion, it'd be the same looking thing, that purple, ugly, nasty looking flower that when you break it, it's all gooey on the inside. It's like a shajar, right? Like a bush, like a tree, like a strong root that grows up on its own, right? So that's a shajar. So in that aspect, the word shajar is applicable. And so there's no criticism of the way the Prophet used the word. Why is that important? Because people might try to come and criticize the validity of the hadith or even the revelation of it by saying, you see, look, they didn't get the words right. They called it a shajar. Like if the hadith said, whoever eats from this evil grass or this wicked grass, you would say, what about that hadith? Huh? Talking about garlic and onions, if the hadith said, whoever eats from this filthy grass, you'd be like, grass? It's not grass. You see what I'm saying? And you would use that if you were an enemy to try to challenge a hadith. The Prophet called it grass. It's not grass. Right? Look at the Arabic language. It's not grass. Right? And so people, they look at it and say, well, no, this garlic, this onion, this leek, kurath, they're not trees. But your Prophet called it a tree. We say that's because you don't know Arabic. If you knew Arabic, you would understand what a tree, what a shajar is. Don't worry about the English. Learn the Arabic, right? Well, even Ibn Abbas said a shajar ma lahu saq, wa najm ma la saqa lah. And a najm doesn't have a trunk. And when we look at garlic and leeks and onions, they don't have a trunk. We say, yeah, that's true. And that's Ibn Abbas referring to what's in that ayah. Because najm, it just means anything that pops up. That's why they call stars nujum. Because what do they do at nighttime? They pop up, right? Dhahara. So anything that dhahara, they call it a najm. But from the aspect of a shajar, it's anything that grows up on its own towards the sky. And it's shajara, right? And when you look at that, we see now the Prophet was correct in his usage of the word. And so don't let your English or your other language interfere with your Arabic. من أكل من هذه أو من أكل هذه الشجرة فلا يقرب أو فلا يقربن. That's what they call noon at-tawkid, al-thaqila, the heavy noon of emphasis. The heavy noon of emphasis. Don't let him get close. Right? Don't let him get close. فَلَا يَقْرَبَنَّ. It's emphasizing, it's the heavy noon of emphasis. Because you could say فَلَا يَقْرَبْنَ, the light noon of emphasis. فَلَا يَقْرُبْ, فَلَا يَقْرُبَنْ, فَلَا يَقْرُبَنَّ. What's the difference? It's easy.
The heavy noon is more emphasized.
The heavy noon is more emphasized. I got to shed. It's more. It's two noons. It's double the emphasis. Right? فَلَا يَقْرَبَنَّ. Right? From the benefits of this hadith, and remember, like what we do, we talk about the outside benefits before we get into the topic. What does that statement benefit? Besides the obvious is the topic, right? The prohibition of going to the masjid with garlic. But what else do you get from this? That's not that. What else can you get from this? فَلَا يَقْرَبَنَّ مَسَاجِدَنَا.
It's order of prohibition.
Well, that's going to be from the issues. You see what I'm saying? We're going to talk about in the issues what kind of prohibition, why is it prohibited, where is it prohibited, what's prohibited, all that type of stuff. But
looking for Prophet to call it grass.
no, so right now he's saying they better not come to our masjid. That's basically what he's saying. Whoever eats from this tree, they better not come to our masjid.
Right.
What benefit can you get out of that?
Some people can be prohibited from coming to the masjid.
It is permissible to stop certain people from going to the masjid. And just like it's permissible to stop certain people from going to the masjid, it's permissible to kick certain people out of the masjid. It's permissible to stop people from going to the masjid and to kick people out of the masjid. Somebody might have a problem with this. What's the ayat in Baqarah? وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ مَنَعَ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ أَنْ يُذْكَرَ فِيهَا وَسَعَى فِي خَرَابِهَا. But what's the other one? وَيَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. And they stop people from the path of Allah and the sacred masjid. Somebody might say, Akhi, you can't kick nobody out the masjid, Akhi. Right? Can you kick somebody out the masjid?
It's a legislation.
The Prophet did what? لا يقربن. You better not come to our masjid. Like, you can kick somebody out the masjid that's causing a problem. We all agree with that, right? Somebody's coming in, fighting people, doing bad things, right?
You can base that ayat on it. You can base that hadith on it.
Yeah, you can use this hadith for that point.
It's something light when you think about it. It's just garlic that you ate.
We know you could kick somebody out the masjid who's fighting. If somebody comes in and punches Mustafa right now, we say, hey, stop, get out, right? But what about somebody who just wants to come and pray? Can you kick somebody out the masjid who just wants to come and pray?
With no excuse.
They just want to pray. All I do, I just want to pray to it like I go. Left, you got to leave.
You got garlic on it.
Huh? You can't kick him out?
He ain't got no problem. He's going to pray.
He just wants to pray. He's not causing no trouble.
He just said some girl.
I mean,
Can you kick him out?
for no reason.
I didn't say for no reason. So he's not causing trouble. He's not fighting anybody.
It already says the legislation that you can kick somebody out of the masjid.
There is legislation that you can kick somebody, even if they just want to pray. When what? When they are bringing harm to the masjid.
So that's a condition.
Of course, we can't just kick anybody out the masjid. Otherwise, we'd be like that ayat, and who's worse than those who mana'a masajid Allah, who stopped the masajid of Allah from having Allah's name mentioned in them, right? To stop somebody from coming to the masajid of Allah, to mention Allah's name, can be Allah. It's evil. But if they're doing something that will cause harm to the masjid, you can kick them out. Or you can stop them from coming in the first place. Even if they're the masjid's neighbor. Even if they're the masjid's neighbor. Some of them will even go as far to say you can remove them away from the masjid if their harm is happening to the masjid, even if they're not in it. What do we call that in English?
Preventative.
Eminent domain. If there is a house next door to the masjid, right? And the people in the masjid are what? You like that music? Allah ya akhi mushkil. I'm in salat and turn it off. They don't want to turn it off. They don't want to stop. Y'all got to move. Right?
Is that the law here?
Huh?
Is that the law here?
I don't know if it's the law here, but similar things happen. You see what I'm saying? Noise complaints. Right? Who can tell me what can I do in my house and what I can't do in my house? Disturbing the peace. These are similar examples of things that Islam came with. Why are we allowed to do this? Because the masjid. Anybody who does anything that causes harm to the masjid or the people in the masjid can be prevented from doing that. It goes back to what we talked about yesterday, right? Causing harm to the people can become greater and more dangerous depending on what people it is. And so the masjid has a place where you can't cause harm in it. And this is something that even the kuffar recognize. When we were young in kuffar, right? I'm sure you might remember. Would you curse in front of a church?
Yes. No.
You would?
No.
Yeah, you walk in front. Hey, you be doing your most devious, evil things, and you walk in front of a church. Hey, put that out. You're in front of a church, right? Because they had a sense of understanding that this place, like, don't bother the people there, right? Even the kuffar to this day, right? Because a lot of them lost those kind of traits. But you've been at work and somebody smoking a cigarette. I went to Chicago not too long ago. I got off the train, and I sat outside, and the guy was just sitting there smoking a cigarette. I needed a place to sit, so I sat down next to him. First thing he did was, my bad, OG, put the cigarette out. Yeah, I had to throw one. My bad, I put the cigarette out. I didn't want to bother you with you know? Because they understand that I don't want to cause harm to this person or this place that Allah values. And so that's something that we need to take into consideration as well as it relates to making sure that we are not causing harm or annoyance to something or someone that Allah values. And so this hadith is a proof that if somebody brings harm into the masjid, even if it's deemed insignificant to some, it's just the smell of garlic, you can stop them. So what if somebody's cursing in the masjid? Like, what if somebody's doing bid'ah in the masjid? It's a greater harm, isn't it?
Yeah, it's even greater.
It's even worse than garlic. And that's why Imam Malik used to say what? When that person asked him, كيف استوى? He said الاستواء معلوم والكيفية مجهول والسؤال عنها والإيمان به واجب والسؤال عنها بدعة وأمر به فأخرج من المسجد. Imam Malik was asked, how did Allah rise above his throne? And he thought for a minute, and then he said, rising above is understood. And the how Allah did it is not. And having iman in it is wajib. And asking about it is a bid'ah. And he commanded that the guy be kicked out the masjid. Right? So we see that there is legislation for those people in charge to stop somebody from going to the masjid, and even if they're already in the masjid, to put them out. In some of the narrations, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Hatta akhrajahu ila Baqi'." He would kick them out the masjid until he put them all the way in Baqi'. Right? If you know, just if you've been to Medina, right? Or if you haven't, Google it.
Graveyard?
Yeah, the graveyard. If you look at where the Prophet's robe is, right, inside of the masjid now, it's not even the first row of the masjid. Where the Prophet's grave or the robe next to it is, it's inside the masjid. And if you look from the distance from there to Baqi', how far Baqi' is, even today it's still a walk, right? It's right next to the masjid, but you got to walk out the masjid, walk all the way across the courtyard, right? It's a walk, it's a hike. But the Prophet would put somebody out of the masjid all the way to Baqi', right? Because of what? Because of harm that they cause the masjid and the people in the masjid. So that's a benefit. فَلَا يَقْرَبَنَّ. And it shows the importance of that, the emphasis of not doing it. They better not come to our masjid. Like, masjid, what does he mean? Masajidana.
Places of worship.
Places of worship? Or like the building?
The Muslims' masjids.
Of course, our masjid, the Muslims.
Yeah.
The kuffar don't have masjid.
Places of worship.
So, the building.
Not the building, where it's this place that's guarded is to worship for Allah. You can't see the whole building. It's a name that.
I can't say the whole building, that's the masjid.
That's the masjid, yeah. If it's the masjid.
That's the masjid. But you're saying like the place of worship.
So, like right here. What if they're over there?
And the parking lot is a masjid.
Okay, the parking lot is not the masjid here.
Musalla?
But that's the question. He says masajidina. What about if we're praying in jama'ah outside of the masjid?
Fine, because of this.
And you can still smell it.
That's my point. So is the prohibition here, does he mean by masjid the actual building, or does he mean by masjid
Salah.
salat al-jama'ah?
Could it mean that the two haramain?
Could it mean just the haram
Yeah.
or the haramain? Right? Masjidana could mean just his masjid. So,
The ultimate word is harm.
well, the ultimate word is harm about the reason. But when he says فَلَا يَقْرَبَنَّ مَسَاجِدَنَا or masjidana, or in some narrations فَلَا يَقْرُبْنَا وَلَا يُصَلِّ مَعَنَا. He better not come close to us, nor can he pray with us. So the question is, what is meant here by the word masjid? Is it just the Prophet's masjid, masjidana, or is it just the masjids, right, the buildings, or is it salat al-jama'ah aynama kan, praying in congregation regardless of where it is, right? Because the rule can change. We go on a road trip and we stop somewhere, get to bite to eat. You get a burger with tomatoes, pickles, onions, mustard, and you're eating, you love it, it's delicious, right? And then when we're done, it's time to pray. What we gonna go do? We're gonna pray Jama'ah. But here you come, just ate this burger. Can we tell you, no, you can't pray with us? Akhi, the hadith says masajid, we're not in the masjid. See what I'm saying? So what is the meaning of the word masjid here? You see how these differences are going to arise. Knowing the different versions of the hadith is what helps you decipher this. Because this hadith is narrated on a large number of Sahaba. Umar, Ali, Abu Hudhayfa, Abdullah bin Umar, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, Mughira bin Shu'bah, Jabir bin Abdullah. Tons of them narrate this narration or something similar. And one of the themes we find is that it was during the Battle of Khaybar. right, during Khaybar is when this hadith happened. Were there masjids in Khaybar?
No.
Were there masjids in Khaybar? You should know. No. How do we know there were no masjids in Khaybar?
Jews.
It was a Jewish city that they were fighting against at that time, right? So after they conquered Khaybar, what would be the first thing they would do? Make a masjid. So you could say, no, there was no masjid. Or you could say, yeah, because it's after the fighting was over and they conquered it, the first thing they would do is make a masjid. And it didn't have to have walls and a roof, but that's the place that's going to be the masjid. So it was a masjid. So you still can have this argument, right? But that narration, فَلَا يَقْرُبْنَا وَلَا يُصَلِّ مَعَنَا, for me, makes it general to congregation, even outside of the masjid. But another benefit they mention in this hadith, فَلَا يَقْرُبْ مَسَاجِدَنَا فَلَا يَقْرُبَنَّ مَسَاجِدَنَا. Ibn Abdul Barr, he says this is a proof you don't have to pray in Jama'ah in the masjid. Ibn Abdul Barr, he says this is a proof that you don't have to pray in the Jama'ah in the masjid, which is the Maliki method. You don't have to go to Jama'ah in the masjid, even if you live next door to it. You don't have to pray in the masjid in Jama'ah. It's an opinion that a lot of people have. Whether it's right or wrong, our goal isn't right or wrong. We're going to get to that when we get to that chapter, but he says this hadith proves it. This hadith proves it. How does this hadith prove it?
I don't think.
Because if it was wajib, you probably.
Because you got other head.
Huh?
If it was wajib for the masjid, you probably couldn't stop it.
One, if it was wajib, you couldn't stop him. But even more than that, before that, as we're going to see, is eating garlic and onion and leeks permissible?
Yes.
It's permissible. But if it's permissible, then can you not go to the masjid, which is wajib, for something that's permissible?
Yeah. How does the permission goes with prohibition?
Huh? There's no prohibition. You said it's permissible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but during the salah, don't eat it maybe.
So you're saying it's haram.
It's not haram, but
Then why can't I eat it?
You can't eat it.
But if I eat it, I can't go to the masjid.
That's what the Prophet said.
That's what the Prophet said.
Yeah.
But eating it is what?
Halal.
So if it's permissible for me to eat it, I can eat it, right?
Yeah.
And once I eat it, what can I not do?
Can't go to masjid.
But if going to the masjid was wajib, it would be what?
you can't stop it.
It would be haram to eat.
No.
It would be haram to eat if I have to. If you say I have to go to the masjid, it would be haram to eat. That's why Ahl al-Zahir, as we're going to talk about, they say it's haram to eat because you got to go to the masjid.
Anytime.
You can't do it.
Anytime you got to go to the masjid,
Yeah, but what if you're sick? You can't go to masjid.
then you can eat it.
Well, it's not.
But you have an excuse to not go to the masjid.
Can you clean your mouth?
Does the hadith mention clean your mouth first?
Man,
The hadith says don't come to the masjid.
Even if you clean your mouth, man, you burp, that stinks.
Well, even with the cleaning of the mouth, we're going to talk about some of the ways that it can be cleaned. But the point of it is that this is why they say, those who hold the opinion, they use this as a proof that you don't have to go to the masjid. Because you all say it's permissible to eat. That's what they say. You say it's permissible to eat.
Of course.
If it's permissible to eat, then I can eat it whenever I want. And if I can eat it whenever I want, but I can't go to the masjid, that means I can eat it right after the adhan
Yeah.
and not go to the masjid.
Yeah.
And if that's permissible, then going to the masjid must have not have been wajib. Because if going to the masjid was wajib, you would have to tell me it's haram to eat right now. Because you have to go to the masjid. Whatever stops you from doing a wajib is haram. It's a principle. Whatever stops you from doing a wajib is haram. Just like
It's
what?
wajib for you to make the salah still.
Yeah, you still gotta make salat.
Yeah, of course.
You see what I'm saying?
We just talking about the point.
But you don't gotta go to the masjid. And so they use that as a proof to say you don't gotta go to the masjid because I can legally not go to the masjid after eating
But
it.
isn't there
Does it
other
mean go to
hadith
the-
saying? Isn't there other hadith saying you have to? Who doesn't
Well,
have-
there's not another hadith that
that's
says you
an
have to.
That's an excuse you're using because you have an excuse now for not going to.
But this excuse was under my control.
Yes, but
So it's
whoever
not
had-
an excuse.
But you have an excuse though.
Yes.
Isn't the hadith say whoever doesn't have excuse?
No, there's no hadith about not going to the masjid or going to the masjid. There are things that are implied. If there was a clear-cut hadith, there'd be no disagreement.
I thought I read something about that.
There's the hadith about the Prophet. He said, I thought about telling somebody to call the adhan, and then having somebody gather firewood, and then telling somebody to call the iqamah, and then going to burn the houses down of those men who don't come to the masjid. And if it wasn't for the women and children, I'd have did it. And so
That's severe.
Oh, don't get me wrong, to me, but they'll argue you and say, well, look, the Prophet didn't do it.
But he would have.
He would have because of the women and children, right?
Yeah.
But hold on, we got a problem.
All right.
When he was would have burnt their houses down, where would he have not been? In the masjid. Because he would have been burning their houses down. And if praying in congregation was wajib, then he'd have missed it. You see what I'm saying? So it can be extremely important, and so important that the Prophet thought about burning their houses down, because wallahi, if they found a piece of food or ribs with some meat in the day that came, even if crawling, but it's not wajib. And as far as the hadith, man as-salatu fil jama'i khayrun min as-salati al-fadh bi 25 daraja, praying in congregation is better than praying alone by 25 times. What the Prophet say? Better. So that means this one is okay.
It's okay.
Wow.
You want to choose the lesser for the better?
But it's okay.
Remember what the Jews did? Or the
But it's okay. And if it's okay, it's not wajib.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why there's an argument. Now, our goal is not right or wrong. It's not even do I agree with it or not. It's just understanding how do they get here, right? Because your job when you come across text is not to look at it what you believe. I believe going to the masjid.
I changed you.
No, I haven't changed. Believe is a strong word. I lean towards those who are in the proximity of the masjid have to go to the masjid from the men with no excuse. I lean towards that position. But you have to be able to understand the other people's position. Because what it does if you don't is it makes you stuck and stubborn. And then when you hear another position, you start to reject it. What do you think Fawzan's position about this is?
That you have to go to the masjid. No.
You'd be surprised.
Well, it's not wajib to go to the masjid.
You said you have to go. Right?
You'd be surprised.
What's considered proximity? You said
Able to hear that now.
You don't hear that in America.
Huh?
You probably can live right down the street. You might not hear
Normally. Able to hear the adhan normally. And if not, then one farsakh, like we did yesterday, right? That's normally. The point of it is that that's a benefit that's in this hadith. And you can see how they got there. That doesn't mean they're right or wrong. No. But we have to be able to look at it, understand it, because when it comes to our worship and when it comes to answering somebody's question, somebody come and ask you, Amr, do I have to pray in the masjid? I live next door. Do I got to pray in the masjid? Do I got to pray in the masjid? You saying it's wajib?
If you hear the adhan, yes.
You saying it's wajib? Oof.
Strong man.
Ooh.
You that brave? You're going to answer to Allah. And he's going to ask you, who told you to tell my slave that it's wajib? That's going to happen.
If you hear the adhan,
Who told you to tell my slave that it's wajib, that he had to do
He's
something?
saying bring the lead, right?
You see what I'm saying? And even with dalil.
How'd you understand that?
You see what I'm saying? Like, Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَا تَصِفُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمُ الْكَذِبِ هَذَا حَلَالٌ وَهَذَا حَرَامٌ لِتَفْتَرُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. That's why the Salaf would avoid those type of terms. I like it.
I think it's better.
I think it's better. If I were you, I would. It makes me extremely happy that you pray in the masjid. Because I understand that saying yes requires something that I might not have. Just like saying no. Somebody comes and says, Hakim, you got to pray in the masjid? I say, nah, you ain't got to pray in the masjid. Hakim, you sure? You that brave to just say no about Allah? Ibn Qayyim has a book called al-Muwatta. Right? Letting the signers know. Al-Muwatta, like a king, the president, when they want to give a declaration or a proclamation, what do? They sign it, they sign the bill, they sign it into law. The Muwatta, right? The king too busy to sign his name to everything. He has the Secretary of State, right? He has a person who signs his name to stuff. Every time you say something about this religion, what are you doing? You're speaking for Allah. You're signing Allah's name to it. If you sign incorrectly, what is that called in English? And the government, what's that called?
Forgery.
Forgery, but it's even worse than that. Treason. Right? You have broken the law. You're going to be put under the jail because you did what? You said the king said something. You said the president said something that he did not say. فَكَيْفَ بِاللَّهِ. And so you have to be able to understand everybody's position before you just start adopting it because that's the position that you learned first. And don't think anybody is above that. That's why learning for yourself, and it doesn't mean being independent from scholars, but it means having the tools that the scholars have to make a decision because people are people. The same way Amr said yes is the same way somebody else might just say yes. You see what I'm saying?
What's the consensus?
There is no consensus. If there was consensus, then we couldn't argue because we have a consensus. That's why that's part of our religion. If there's a consensus, hey, there's no argument.
But what about
Ask them.
So if he tells me and I tell him, and
But is he Ahl al-Dhikr?
No, I'm saying if I ask Ahl al-Dhikr,
If you ask Ahl al-Dhikr,
and he tells me and I convey the message.
that's a great question. That's what we call blind following. If you don't know something, what can you do? You can ask. And you don't even need no evidence. I don't know something, you can just say, Sheikh, what do I do? Sheikh tells you what to do, you could do it. And with Allah, you are excused. As long as you didn't know and you asked Ahl al-Dhikr. Ibn Qayyim talks all about it. This is a great book, al-Muwatta. We had started it here, we never got deep into it though. What if you ask somebody who's not Ahl al-Dhikr? Then you didn't do the right thing, you're sinning. You disobeyed Allah in this regard because Allah told you to ask who? What if you did know the answer, but you asked somebody anyway to get their answer to get you an excuse?
It's plain.
You're sinning. Because Allah said, ask Ahl al-Dhikr if you don't know. But once you know the haqq, you got to do what? You got to follow it. Whoever said whatever they said. Tayyib. So if you don't know and you ask Ahl al-Dhikr, you can do. Can you tell him to do? He might have the same question. Can you tell him to do?
I'm gonna tell him. He told me that.
Mumtaz. But can you tell him to do?
No.
No, because you don't know. And since you don't know, وَلَا تَقْفُوا مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Don't say what you have no knowledge about. So you can't tell him to do. You can tell him, Sheikh so-and-so told me to do this.
I ain't telling you to do it.
I just told you what Sheikh so-and-so told me. Are our situations identical or not? Because a fatwa, and these are all conversations, like do you know the difference between a fatwa and a hukm?
General ruling?
A hukm in Islam versus a fatwa in Islam.
Fatwa is like for the individual.
A hukm is delivered by a judge, and it is non-transferable. A fatwa is delivered by a scholar and could be transferable, right? If I go to the court, me and my wife have an argument, and I say I didn't divorce her, and she said I divorced her, right? I said, you don't like it, kick rocks. Don't let the doorknob hit you with a good Lord split you, right? And she said, he divorced me. I left the house. He told me to kick rocks. I left. I went to my mama's house. We're divorced. And this was our third one. I'm not going back. And I go to the judge. I say, kick rocks. I didn't mean I was divorcing. I just mean she don't like it tough. You know what I mean? And she could leave if she don't like it. But I wasn't divorcing her. That's just the way we talk. And the judge makes a judgment in my favor. He says, she's still your wife. He commands her to go back home. That's a judgment. It is binding and non-transferable. I can't come to your situation and say, well, nah, she got to come back home. Right? Why? Because that's a judgment. You got to go to the judge, and the judge can make that. A fatwa is non-binding. You go, Sheikh, me and my wife got an argument. I told her she don't like to kick rocks. And she thought I meant divorce, so she left the house. The Sheikh says, no, she should come back home. That's not a divorce. If your intention was just to say it but not divorce, she should come back home. That's a fatwa. Is the scholar a judge? Does he have legal judge status where his statement becomes binding? No. So that fatwa, does my wife have to listen to him? No. She can go to another scholar. The other scholar says, no, he said kick rocks. And your culture, that means you're divorced and you go home. Right? So a fatwa is non-binding. But because it's non-binding, it's transferable. I can tell you, hey, Sheikh so-and-so said such and such. You see what I'm saying? But for it to be transferable, it needs to be compatible. And sometimes there are differences that aren't compatible. And you might not know those differences. I told my wife, if she don't like it, she can kick rocks. He told his wife, if you don't like it, you're free to go. Any difference?
Yeah, different.
You don't like, no, let's change it up a little bit. If you don't like it, kick rocks. Ammo. If you don't like it, go. If you don't like it, you're free. I don't want to say if. You don't like it, you're free. You don't like it, kick rocks. Is there any difference there?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Kick rocks is like tough.
Uh-huh.
Put up with it.
You're free.
No, you're not free. Put up with it, like tough.
I know what I'm saying, but what about you're free?
You're free, yeah, you gotta go.
You don't have to go, you're free. You don't like it, you're free.
You don't like it, you can leave.
She's a free woman, she's not a slave.
I'm saying you can leave, like from my.
You can leave.
If you don't like it.
If you don't like it, you can kick rocks. Kick rocks means leave.
Not to me.
Not to you.
There's more leeway in that language with you're free.
It's more leeway or less leeway?
Less.
I would say more
Because you're
leeway.
free from
More,
action.
less. Say it in Arabic. That's where it becomes tricky. Say it in Arabic. Anti hur, anti taliq. That's what it means. Anti taliq, anti taliq. You don't like it, anti taliq. I didn't mean she was divorced. I meant she was free. You're a free woman. You ain't got no restrictions on you. You don't like what I say, go buy your own couch. You don't like my couch, anti taliq.
But you're not divorced.
I'm not divorced. I just meant she's taliq. But you see how in that circumstance, somebody might say, no. You said anti taliq.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's not kinaya. You got to have some proof now that you didn't mean divorce because you used the clear-cut word.
Yeah.
But in English, is it a clear-cut word?
No.
You see? And so now, just because of the different language it made up, you don't like it, you don't like my couch, leave my house.
Let's just leave the house.
And she leaves the house. You say, what are you doing? Astaghfirullah, haram. You said leave the house. So the point of it is that this is why we have to be careful in our statements because we have to approach it with this. Anyway, another benefit, and we haven't even gotten to the issues yet, another benefit in this hadith, this is the last benefit we'll talk about. Do you have to pay zakat on greens, in vegetables, in roots? What you think? I'll give you the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, in everything that that the sky waters, there's a tenth that is due.
Well, yeah, then.
You say, yeah, right? But Ibn Abdul Bawd, he says, a tenth is due. Anything that's the sky waters, you don't put no effort into watering it. It's just watered strictly by rain.
Zakat is 2.5.
No, that's the zakat of currency. The zakat of crops is a tenth if it's watered by the sky, or a half of a tenth if it's watered by you. So, Prophet said, "Fi kulli ma saqat as-sama' ushr." Everything that the sky waters, there's a tenth. Do you have to pay crops and vegetables and roots and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, he said that, yeah.
This is an issue where there's disagreement. And the Malikiya, they say no. They say no. Majority of the madhab, they say no. Abu Hanifa says yes. They say no. Why do they say no? Because this hadith shows us that onions and garlic and leeks used to grow in Medina.
Right.
And we don't have any clear proof that the Prophet ever charged zakat on it. You could argue, well, they didn't know what rice was. Sahaba didn't know what rice was. Right? There was no rice during the time of the Prophet in Medina. Right? They didn't know what rice was until they started fighting the Persians. But what about onions and garlic and greens, cucumbers, things like that? Did they know what those were? Did the Prophet ever take zakat from those things? And this hadith proves that they knew what it was. So you can't say we can compare it to other things, because if it was comparable, who would have compared it? The Prophet ﷺ. Because it existed in Medina at that time. Right?
Well, what vegetables you got to pay attention on?
None. Because they had vegetables and he didn't charge zakat on it.
Where's that proof about the 10th that you have to pay?
Everything that the sky waters, there's a 10th.
From the Quran?
It's in the hadith.
Hadith.
Yeah. كلما سقط السماء عشر. Hadith of the Prophet
So
ﷺ.
the olive,
But
you
this
got
one,
olive grove, you got olive harvest.
Well,
You got paid.
when we say vegetable, that's why I use the word vegetable. I don't think I used the word fruit, did I?
No,
Greens.
no, you
Yeah, I said greens and vegetables.
You said vegetables.
Yeah. Because fruits are different.
So, but the water from the sky is...
If I have dates, I have to pay a 10th if they only get water from the sky or the ground directly. Like if I'm next to a river and I don't got to dig a canal or something like that, and they just grow wild, I got to pay a 10th. If I water them, or if I got to dig the channel or something like that, I pay half of a 10th. The point of it is that vegetables, greens, roots, they had those during the time of the Prophet. Some people say you got to pay zakat on them. We say, why? They say compare it to dates. Compare it to the things the Prophet said you got to pay zakat in. And we'll say, no, you can't compare it. Well, why can't you compare it? They're both food. Because it was around during the Prophet's time. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And if it was comparable, he would have did it. And so the fact that there's no proof that he ever charged zakat on onions, do you have to pay zakat on onions? Do you have to pay zakat on cotton? Cotton is a plant.
that's different.
Huh?
It's a crop.
It's a crop. You got to pay zakat on tobacco?
Yeah, it's a crop.
It's a crop. But do you have to pay zakat on it?
Yeah, if you make money off of it.
No,
They did
says
run a
who?
profit.
They didn't sell onions and garlic and leeks and all that. They didn't pay zakat on it. Pumpkins and apples, they didn't pay zakat on them. You see what I'm saying? And so they use this hadith as a proof for it. Right. Let's talk about the issues real quick before we get into the next hadith. So, what are the issues that we're always looking for in the hadith? The main issues.
How do you connect it to the chapter?
It's 3 words. The 5 W's. You guys got to know the 5 W's.
Why?
Why? That's one of the big ones. We need to know why. We need to know why.
When?
Why?
Can you
Is it
garlic?
haram?
Why what? We
Why
need
what?
to know what. You see what I'm saying? We need to know why it's what. Right? It's important to know if there is a where it is haram. We need to know a when. For how long is it?
When, where?
You see what I'm saying? If there's a how, you want to know this is how you build your ruling. So the first question is what? What is the ruling?
No.
Huh?
No.
Nahi. Malik made it easy for us. Bab fi ma jaa and bab ma jaa fi nahi and dukhul al masjid bi rih al-thum. Al-thum. We didn't talk about al-thum. What is al-thum? Garlic. Right? Garlic is a plant. If you Google it, it grows as a root, and then it has a stem or a stalk that comes out of the ground, and it grows a flower. Right? But that root has a benefit, and it's edible, and people like it, but it has a pungent odor. Some of the narrations mention 2 plants, garlic and onions, right? And they're similar in the way that they grow. Al-basal. Some of them mention 3 plants, garlic, onions, and kurath, leeks. If you Google it, it looks just like them. A leek is what they call it in English.
Just like a
Huh? It's like an onion.
You know,
green onion.
and you got to ingest it by eating it. You know, your skin is the biggest organ you got.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's people who come here smelling like,
You are what you eat. It's gonna
yeah.
it's going to it's going to spread through your skin.
Yeah.
Because when you
I was
digest
gonna
it,
say-
it goes through your body.
I was going to get to, you know, when they eating it or they were around where they were cooking it.
Yeah,
It's just really, really pungent.
For sure. And so there are narrations that mention those things specifically, right? And we're going to talk about that when we get into the what else. So there are narrations that mention those three things specifically. And in some of the narrations, they call it min hadhihi shajaratil khabitha, this wretched tree, this filthy tree, right? Or Umar, he called it وَمَا أُرَاهُمَا إِلَّا شَجَرَتَيْنِ وَمَا أُرَاهُمَا إِلَّا خَبِيثَيْنِ. And I don't think that they're anything other than khabith, talking about garlic and onions. He called it what? Khabith. Right? So the question now, the first question is what? We have a nahi. Which kind of nahi? Remember, if you just remember what Malik is saying, and then you can kind of remember what everybody else is saying. Malik says, what kind of nahi? You think tahrim? Why do you say tahrim? You think haram? You think karaha? Why you say haram?
Where does it say that somebody went in?
It doesn't say somebody went
I
in,
don't.
but that's not the topic.
I was gonna say tahrim, but
It's haram unless you can prove me otherwise.
What's the topic?
Nahi.
Eating garlic.
Right.
Garlic is not eating that. It's not haram.
This don't say it's haram to eat garlic. It says
No,
haram
I'm
to go
saying-
to the masjid
yeah,
if you
that's
ate
what I'm
garlic.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. What's the topic?
Yeah, going to the masjid.
Right. Well, going to the masjid is going to be another topic.
uh,
The first topic is what?
eating garlic.
Nahi. And even though Malik says dukhul al-masjid, you understand from that it's not haram to eat.
Yeah.
Some people say it's haram to eat. That's the foundation of this conversation. Is it permissible or not? Al-Zahiriyya say it's haram to eat. Why do they say it's haram to eat? They say, first of all, the Prophet forbade it. A person responds and says, no, the Prophet didn't forbid it. He just didn't do it. Right?
When he did it like to eat.
The Prophet didn't eat garlic or onions. And he said to the Sahaba, once they brought him a dish, a qidr, a pot that had greens in it that contained onions or garlic. And he didn't eat it. He said, give it to my companions. And when his companions saw that he wasn't eating, they didn't eat. And he told them, eat. I talk to who you don't talk to. Right? I talk to who you don't talk to.
Maybe that's why it's haram in masjid.
I talk to who you don't talk to. So that shows us that what?
It's permissible.
It's permissible. But in another narration, the Prophet said, whoever eats, and whoever is what? General. Whoever eats from this filthy tree, don't come close to our masjid. And so Abu Sa'id, he says, so we ate when we were forced. We really needed something to eat. And so we ate it.
Right.
So that shows what?
Permissibility.
No, it doesn't show permissible.
It shows like out of the last thing that they got.
Karaha. They didn't want to eat it, but they had to eat it. So that supports nahi, karaha. Because you got three opinions in this. You got permissible, ibaha. It's okay. There's no prohibition. Do it. You want to do it, do it. Bismillah. It's no problem. And then you got karaha. Hey, nah, don't do it. But if you do it, it's no sin. But don't do it. Because remember, karaha means what? Allah and His Messenger told you, don't do it. And then you got tahrim, where it's no, it's haram. You can't do it. The Zahiriyya, they say it's haram. One, because they say it's a prohibition. Don't you agree it's a prohibition?
To eat it?
Yeah. So you think it's just mubah.
We didn't say don't eat it.
Not this hadith, but just generally all the other narrations about it.
But the first narration shows that it's not.
Right, I agree. That's the karaha. But don't you agree? I'm arguing with you now. Don't you agree it's a nahi?
Yeah.
Then the nahi is haram.
It's not nice.
It is a nahi. If it's karaha, it's nahi. You can't have karaha without nahi. You can't have don't do it without somebody telling you not to do it. Remember, nahi doesn't necessarily mean haram, right? But the person who's making the argument that it is haram will say, hey, do you agree it's a nahi? You say, yeah. I say, okay, it's haram then, because the foundation in nahi is haram. Now you'll respond back, well, it was makruh. The Prophet didn't say it was haram. In fact, there's a clear narration where the Prophet said, La uharrimu ma ahallallah. Laysa li an uharrimu ma ahallallah. I can't make something haram that Allah made halal. And so he's saying that it's not haram. But he still didn't eat it and didn't like people to eat it. And so therefore it's nahi, makruh. But the person who's arguing the Zahiriyya, they say, no, nahi, haram. We responded back to them with nahi, makruh. They say, yeah, but going to the masjid wajib. Going to the masjid is wajib. Going into the masjid with this on your breath, what's the ruling of that?
Can you go?
Haram?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say haram too. Because the Prophet did what?
Forbade.
Forbade them and physically stopped them. Right? And he emphasized it. And the foundation is that it's haram. And there's no proof to show anything else. So going into the masjid with garlic on your breath or a smell is haram. Labib already told us that if you around it, you're going to stink. Let alone if you eating it, right? If they cooking it, you're going to, so how can you eat it if you got to go to the masjid?
Are you going to eat it?
If I eat it, I'm not going to the masjid.
But going to the masjid is wajib. So can you purposely,
Unless I have an excuse.
and eating it is not an excuse to not go to the masjid.
I got nothing else to eat.
If you had, so then it's still what?
What?
Haram. If you had nothing else to eat, pig is halal.
Yeah.
And so that's why the Zahiriyya, they say, no, this is haram. You can't eat it, especially in times where you might need to go to the masjid, right? And their argument makes sense if you believe that going to the masjid is wajib. That's why Ibn Karim al-Khudayr, he says, if you eat it as a trick to get out of going to the masjid, it's haram.
That's what I was thinking.
But this hadith don't mention nothing about tricks or not. It just say don't do it. And so if doing it is haram, I mean, if going to the masjid with it on your breath is haram, and going to the masjid is wajib, doing it would be haram. The only way you can get away from that is to say what?
It's not wajib to go to the masjid.
It's not wajib to go to the masjid.
What if you eat it?
Unless you have an excuse.
That is not an excuse. If you have an excuse, you don't have to go to the masjid.
But I wanted to eat.
So you can eat if you have an excuse.
I was hungry.
Eat something else if you got to go to the
But
masjid.
I have this in front of me.
Eat something else. This is haram to eat to go to the masjid.
Why would it be haram?
Because the Prophet said, La yaqrubanna masajidina, and you say that going to the masjid is wajib.
Unless you have an excuse.
You don't have an excuse. Do you have an excuse not to go to the
I
masjid?
ate.
This is not an excuse. This is the thing that is haram. You did something haram.
But where does it say it's haram to eat?
Don't go to the masjid with it on your, right?
Is there?
And so if you gotta go to the masjid, they call the adhan, and you like, okay, no ta'am, no salah, either hadar ta'am. And so somebody give you that burger and
It
it got a
says-
big old onion in it, and
but
you
it-
bite down in it.
But it says men akala hadhihi shajara.
You bit down into the burger with the onion on it.
Men akala.
You,
He didn't
you're
say-
men who akala.
Yes. He didn't say don't akala.
فَلَا يَقْرُبَنْ. Going to, we didn't say eating it is haram.
Oh, I thought it's.
We said going to the masjid after eating it is haram.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And so going to the masjid is what?
Wajib.
And so anything that stops you from doing a wajib is haram. Eating it and then going to the masjid would be what? I'm waiting for him. Eating it and then going to the masjid would be what? Haram. So you can't eat it if you got to go to the masjid. If it's after Isha and you want to eat it before you go to bed, no problem. As long as it's going to be gone by Fajr. And if you're not sure, then don't eat it because it'd be haram. Can't go to the masjid with it on your breath. You see what I'm saying? That's the Zahiri opinion. Other people say no. And see, this is where it becomes tricky. Because If you say you have to go to the masjid, there's no way around that. Unless you say that you don't have to go to the masjid, or it's not haram to go to the masjid with it on your breath.
That's the only way.
What other ways can you make it? Either you have to say that it's not wajib to go to the masjid, so you can eat it all you want and then just don't go to the masjid. Or you have to say it is wajib to go to the masjid,
Yeah.
but it's not haram to go there with this on your breath, to smell like onions and go.
It's just disliked.
It's just disliked.
That's the other way.
But I mean, we said it was wajib. I mean, it was haram a second ago. I mean, it seems like it's haram to go to the masjid with it on your on smelling like it,
Yeah, it does.
right? And so that's why you see a lot of people say that it's not haram to go to the masjid with it on you. It's just makruh,
Ah, okay.
right? Even though this hadith to me looks like it's haram to go there,
It does.
What position you take?
I don't know. I don't have a position. I don't eat onions and garlic like that. So it's not a big deal for me. I know I hate every time I'm standing in the row and somebody smell like onions or garlic or curry powder or something like that. I hate it. And if I was in charge, even taking a position or without taking a position, I'd probably stop them from coming in the masjid. But that's also with hikmah. I don't want to be said that Abdul Hakim stops the Muslims from praying in the masjid. You see what I'm saying? So I might have to let somebody in, because the same reason the Prophet didn't kill the hypocrites, I'm not going to stop somebody from coming into the masjid who smells like garlic, and then they're going to say, "Grand, they be kicking people out the masjid for no reason." And I got a sensitive nose. I have a very sensitive nose.
What if it becomes like a big problem?
If it becomes a big problem, I got to talk about it. But if it's just that guy who came in, or that one guy who don't wear deodorant or something like that, you see what I'm saying? I'm not going to make a big deal. That's just me, though. Even though the prophets, but I am not the prophet. And those are the things that we talk about in fiqh. Right? People say, "Well, the prophet did this." Yeah, but the prophet had a position with the people that they would accept it. Umar did this, right? Like Sheikh Saleh, he mentions, it was transmitted to me. I don't think I heard it from him directly. But like when, like we've done it here before. Somebody would be coming into the masjid late, we'll stop the khutbah and talk to him. Did you pray 2 rak'at? Pray and be quick about it. Straighten your brother towards the qibla, right?
Yeah.
During the khutbah. We've done it here before. Some scholars say, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that.
Right.
They say, but the prophet did it. They say, yeah, but the prophet had a position with the people that they would accept that from him. You don't have such a position with the people in this scenario. For example, something that's common. I come in, Abdurrahman's leading the salah. Should I move him and stand in his place?
No. The Prophet did it.
Prophet did it.
That's the prophet.
Huh?
That's the prophet.
It's the sunnah.
Yeah, that's the
But you have to look at the circumstance. You see what I'm saying? If the people are ready to accept that from me and my position in the community, then it's okay. But if I did that, it's going to cause a bigger problem because they're not at the place to accept that from me, then it being the sunnah isn't enough of a justification for me to do it, because the problem that is going to happen, getting rid of that problem or defending against that problem, is the sunnah as well. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? Whereas if they know Abdul Hakim and they're comfortable with it, Abdul Hakim comes in, he's on the first rak'ah, I tap him on the shoulder, he fall back, I step up, everybody good, no problem. They say the same thing about reciting with the different qira'at. They say the same thing about so many things. And an example of it is that, do you have to listen to your parents when they tell you to divorce your spouse?
Ibrahim, right?
I'm asking you, do you have to do it?
No.
The answer is no. They say, but Ibrahim told Ismail to divorce, change his doorstep, and Umar told his son to divorce his wife. We say when you're as good as Ibrahim and Umar, then people will have to listen to you. But until then, they don't. So it's a difference in the levels of those things. So the point of it is that in this circumstance, even though I might lean to, you can't go into the masjid, it's haram to go into the masjid stinking. Even though I might lean to that, will I apply it? Probably not. And especially in a case-by-case scenario. But I'm okay with that position because I also think going to the masjid is obligatory for the people that have to go. So it's okay for me to say it's haram to eat it before you go to the masjid. But for somebody that says it's not haram to eat it before going to the masjid, then they have to say that going to the masjid is not wajib. Or if they say that going to the masjid is wajib, they have to say it's not haram to eat it before you go to the masjid.
Can a wajib be lifted though?
By what?
By an excuse.
An excuse. This is not an excuse. An excuse is Allah has given you permission to not do something. So in Arabic, there's a word for it, a rukhsa, right? When you are traveling, what can you do? You can shorten, you can combine. When you are lazy, you have an excuse to not stand up? What if you don't stand up? It's not permissible. You don't have an excuse. Going to the masjid is wajib. Eating the onion is not an excuse to not go to the masjid. It is, you can't go to the masjid if you did so. So that's not called a rukhsa. Dinner being present, you don't what? If dinner is present, you don't what? You don't have to go to the masjid. That's an excuse. You see what I'm saying? If there's food, you don't have to go. But the Prophet forbade you from going if you ate garlic. That's not an excuse. That's a prohibition. You see what I'm saying? And so that's where this issue becomes difficult. Either going to the masjid is wajib, so eating garlic before going to the masjid is haram, or it's makruh and going to the masjid is wajib, or going to the masjid is mustahab and eating it before going to the masjid is makruh or mubah. Because a lot of people say it's just mubah to eat it whenever you want. And if that's the position you take, it becomes even harder to say that, you know, one of those other opinions. So that's the what of it, the kind of prohibition, the kind of nahi, right? We say which things, we got garlic, we got onion, we got leeks. Can I compare to it anything else that smells bad and has a pungent odor? Huh?
Bothers.
Yeah, it's a pungent odor. It's a strong pungent odor.
Body odor?
Body odor. Can I compare body odor? Can I tell the person whoever didn't put on deodorant, then don't come close to our masjid?
It smells like onion too.
Yes. Yes.
Smoke.
Cigarette smoke. Can I tell somebody you can't come into the masjid? You smell like cigarettes.
I'd rather put it in rainwater.
Right? Fish. I hate fish.
Because it causes a harm.
Or just bad breath.
What about shrimp?
Bad breath. I don't. It smells. Right? So the question is, can you compare those things? To compare those things, the first thing before we ever do a comparison, we need to know what?
Somebody else compared it.
Like the Prophet did.
Why? We need to know why. You can't compare without knowing why. Why can't you go into the masjid? Why can't you go into the masjid if you ate garlic or onions or leeks? First question is, going back to what we talked about, what masjid? Some of them say it's only the Prophet's masjid. Because in some of the narration it says masjidina, our masjid. What's the Prophet's masjid? Masjid al-Nabawi. And he said, I talk to who you don't talk to. Who does the Prophet talk to that we don't talk to?
Angels.
Which ones? Jibreel. Right? And Jibreel doesn't come to Grand Masjid. Right? This is what they say. Jibreel went to the Prophet's masjid. What can he get to Kathir? His going to the Prophet in the Prophet's masjid. And so this is the reason why the Prophet wouldn't eat garlic. And so the reason is, where is it prohibited? The Prophet's masjid only. That's what some people say. It's only the Prophet's masjid.
Oh, you mentioned Jibril. Jibril did not like
The Prophet said, I talk to who you don't talk to.
the garlic and the onions.
Of course.
Of offense to Jibril.
I talk to who you don't talk to. If your breath smell like garlic, it's going to annoy me. Right? And the Prophet is having close conversations with Jibril. And that's why he said he doesn't do it. And he said our masjid. And that is not something that is establishable anywhere else. The Sahaba, did they eat garlic?
Yeah.
Did they have two angels on their side?
Yes.
Did that stop them from eating garlic? Because the angels would be annoyed by it? right? Did they go to the masjid in other places after eating garlic? Right? Well, that's the argument. But, so you see, some people can say it's only the Prophet's masjid, and it's because of Jibreel, and it's because of the Prophet ﷺ, and that's it. Other people say, no, it's all masajid. Because in some of the narration it says, masajidana, our masjids. And so that includes all masjids. But that is the place, the masjid. And they use as support for this the hadith of the Prophet, فَإِنَّ الْمَلَائِكَ, in one of the versions of this narration, because indeed the angels are bothered by that which bothers humans. The angels don't like the things that humans don't like. You don't like bad breath. The angels don't like bad breath, right? And so the masajid are places where it's likely that angels are. And so to have bad breath and bad odor going into the masjid would be offensive to them. And so they say that's the case even if there's nobody in the masjid. If there's nobody in the masjid, can I go in there after I've eaten garlic? For example, I build a masjid in my backyard. Can I do that? Absolutely. I can build a masjid in my backyard. Masjid only hold 5 people. Me and my family. Small masjid. It's a masjid. My backyard, just me and my family. We all love garlic. We get together, we eat garlic all the time. I still want to go to the masjid. So I go to my masjid after I eat garlic. Okay or not okay? What you think? No? What you think?
Well, it has the ruling still out whether or not it's the Prophet's masjid, so they say masjid.
So if you say the Prophet's masjid,
all the masjid.
right, if you say the Prophet's masjid, you say it's okay. If you say all the masjids, you say what?
No.
No, because this is a masjid. But there's nobody else there but me.
Angels.
I'm the imam. There's nobody even by me, can smell me. Malaika. Because the malaika are offended by what offends Bani Adam. Right? Some people say no. The meaning of masjid means congregational prayer, being around other people. Right? Whether you're in a masjid or not. And it's because it is offensive. And even if somebody isn't offended by it, because this is another issue they say, what if some of the people aren't offended by it? What if everybody loves onions and so they don't mind? We still say no. Because 2 reasons. The ruling is for the general, not the specific. Men who say, I don't have desire for women. I don't have any shahwa. Are there men like that?
Yes.
Can they be around women alone?
Nope.
I don't have any shahwa. Akhi, she like my daughter. I think it's like just like my daughter. I was there when she was born. I raised her. Come on now. No. I don't have any shahwa. Can I be alone with her? But I don't got no shahwa. Because the ruling isn't for your specific case, it's for the general. And so just because you might be an exception to the rule doesn't change the rule. And so just because this group of people might be an exception to not dislike, somebody might love the way garlic smell. Does that make it okay? If we get a masjid just for the garlic, like you got the garlic section and the non-garlic section in the masjid, right? We say no. Another point of it is that any rule or any why that would result in the narration being false or being invalidated cannot be a why. This is a principle. I know that's not clear. Any why that results in the invalidating of the narration can't be the why. I'll give an example. Why is gold and silver? Why is there riba in gold and silver? Anybody remember? We talked about it. Why is there riba in gold and silver? Why can't I give you 1 gold coin and you can give me 2 gold coins? Why not? Because of the value, the themaniya, right? That they are the currency, right? That's the majority's, that's the current opinion, that they're currency. The opinion that I lean to is no. Why? One of the reasons why I lean to that opinion is, are gold and silver currency today?
No.
So if the reason why it was haram was because they were currency and they're no longer currency, that would mean the hadith about gold and silver would be what?
That's just in
Invalid.
That's just in America.
Everywhere. There's no place on the earth where gold and silver is currency right now. Tell me what country uses gold and silver as currency? What group of people use gold and silver as currency?
Well, I guess it's true.
Right?
I mean,
It has value.
the reserves.
Not covered anymore. Dollars aren't covered by gold and silver. They're not valued based on gold and silver. They're based on GDP.
That's debatable.
What country uses gold and silver to value their currency?
No, I'm talking about the value of the dollar, the paper.
Oh, we know that the value of the dollar is debatable because it's make-believe money. It's still money, but it's make-believe money. It's monopoly money that we all pay with. But that's a different opinion. But
I hear there's gold reserves.
there definitely gold reserves. But is it currency? Gold exists, and gold is still valuable. You can still buy gold. I got gold. But if I go to Schnucks with my little gold bars, can I buy my beef bacon?
No.
It's not backed by gold anymore.
Then the currency, if I gave you a choice, I'll give you
Proxy.
a gold bar or its worth in dollars. Which one would you take?
I'll take the gold.
Yes, you might take the gold. I'll give you that. But you'll take the gold just because you love gold. And you know that gold has a real value that paper money doesn't.
Sure.
But most people would take what? Because what you're going to do with the gold, all of your clients from now on are only going to pay you in gold. You going to accept that?
I would.
No, you would. Even that, I think it would be hard because how you going to pay your bills?
Okay.
Exchange it.
You're going to exchange it for what?
Currency.
Paper money.
So you go
You
back.
see what I'm saying? So it goes to show that gold isn't the currency, because if you would have to exchange it for something else, it's not the currency. You might let somebody pay gold, or man, I'm gonna come up with this gold, but even in your mind, your default thought today would be what? I'm gonna take that gold and I'm gonna sit on it until the what happens? The value goes up, and then I sell it for more what?
Dollars.
For more paper. So the point of it is that if you say that currency is the reason, the why behind gold and silver, nowadays it would lead you to saying that gold and silver, there's no riba in it because they are no longer the currency. And that can't be the case because the hadith says what? There's riba in gold and silver. So any why that invalidates the hadith can't be the why. That applies here. If a group of people say, we want to go to the masjid smelling like garlic and we're okay with it, can they go?
The Malaika probably not okay with it.
Huh? Yeah, the malaika are probably not okay with it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that makes sense. But what if they say, well, we're going to just pray in a place where it's open? Well, these malaika, they don't have a problem with it. They can't do nothing about it. Right? We say, no, it's not just that the other people are offended. That would lead to the hadith being invalidated. You got the malaika being offended. You see what I'm saying? You got the sacredness of the masjid. So, we understand the why. Some people are the where. Prophet's masjid, all masjids, any congregation. The why. Some people say the why is because they are shajaratun khabith. And I forgot to mention this about the people that say it's haram. يُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمْ الْخَبَائِثِ. Ayat in the Quran, Allah says He makes halal for them the good things and He makes haram for them the khaba'ith. And the Prophet called this shajara khabith. So it's halal. So they say the reason why is it's khabith, it's filthy. And so therefore, that's why you can't go to the masjid with it. Other people say because the smell is offensive. Right? And for this reason, you'll find them disagreeing about what kind of garlic or onion can you not go to the masjid with. Some say it's only raw garlic or onion. And if you cook it, then it's okay. Like Umar, he used to say, you all are going to the masjid with this garlic and onion. And I don't think that the two of them are anything other than filthy plants. So if you go, get rid of its smell by cooking it. Right? And majority of the things we eat nowadays have some onion or some garlic in it. If we got seasoning, they got some onion and some garlic in it. and it doesn't smell bad. I love a good steak, some garlic butter, right? Well, no, it smells great. You see what I'm saying? But it's because it's been cooked. As far as the raw plant, then that's where they say the prohibition
Why
is.
are they calling it filthy?
The Prophet called it filthy. But that's the question. Some people say they call it filthy because it's haram.
But he's yeah, he said it's not haram.
He said it's not haram, so why do you call it filthy?
And then we went into the discussion about the malaki, because
It's offensive.
You don't talk to who I talk to.
Right. Yeah.
And, so where the filth come in at?
Khabith.
Najis.
Not najis, khabith.
Is it the smell?
Disgusting. It's wretched. Khubth. It's evil. Disgusting, wretched, nasty plant. Right? The Prophet called it that.
Okay.
Umar called it that. It's not najis. If it was najis, it'd be haram. But it's like cockroaches. Cockroaches aren't najis. Cockroaches are not najis.
Huh?
Cockroaches are not najis.
Okay. They're nasty, though.
They're khabith. They're nasty little buggers.
They're filthy. They got disease.
They got disease and all that, but they're not najis. If a cockroach walked on your floor, you got to wash the floor religiously. No, you don't have to wash the floor religiously. If you were praying outside, I mean, cockroaches walk on the concrete you'll never know about. What's the difference between a concrete and a cockroach and a beetle? What they call them bugs? The dung beetle. Are they najis? They roll around dung all day. They're not najis. They nasty. I wouldn't eat them. And so they're repulsive. They're disgusting. And that's what he's saying about the shajaratun khabitha. It's not najis, it's just nasty. But people love it. And if you're going to eat it, cook it. This is the statement of Umar and other than him. So this is what they say as regard to why. Some people say it's filthy, and other people say it's only filthy when it's uncooked. Either way, the why is still comparable, they say, to other things that are filthy. Right? If you're going to do something that's going to make the masjid smell bad, look bad, these are things that are haram to bring into the masjid. Spitting in the masjid in a way that's going to make the masjid look bad. And we can apply that to things that aren't the norm but are now. That weren't the norm but are now. Going into the masjid with shoes on. The sunnah is to wear your shoes in the masjid. It's the sunnah. But nowadays our masjids are what? Carpeted. If everybody comes into the masjid with their shoes on, what they going to do? They're going to make the masjid filthy. Take your shoes off, brothers. Leaving your shoes anywhere in the entrance to the masjid. Don't you hate that?
Yeah.
It annoys me. When you got to step over 100 people's shoes, what they do?
And then the handicap, the people with disability, they're going to trip over it or can't get around.
You're annoying the people in the masjid. Right? All of these subtle things, they're probably ittaqu mala'in, right? So these subtle things that people don't think about, right? So we know why. We know it's comparable to other things. Who, what, when, where. We know where, right? I don't think there's really too much else. I'm trying to think, is there anything really else important in this hadith to talk about? Oh, how long do they have to stay away from the masjid?
When you eat garlic.
Whenever the order is finished.
Whenever the odor's finished. يُؤْذِينَ بِرِيحِ الثُّومِ فَلَا يَقْرُبَنَّ مَسَاجِدِنَا يُؤْذِينَ بِرِيحِ الثُّومِ. Bothering us with the smell of garlic.
Yeah, you was going to mention about cleaning out the mouth.
The cleaning of it was through cooking, right? If you cook it, some of the Sahaba, they said, وَمَا أَرَاهُ إِلَّا نَيْءُهُ. I don't think that the Prophet was talking about anything other than raw, right? And some of them say that lower its filthiness by cooking it, right? If you cook it, it lowers the harm in it. And you're right, I wasn't going to talk about that, and that's based on the next hadith, right? We talked about how long they got to stay away from until the harm goes away, right? Until the odor dissipates. Like the next hadith. What's the next hadith about?
Covering the face,
Huh? What? What's it about?
covering the mouth, whatever.
Made no sense. Oh, before that. Did we ever figure out why he mentioned this hadith about garlic in a chapter that deals with books? I mean, a time of salat?
I was only thinking maybe because of the seasons or something that it grows. I don't know.
No. Seasons that it grows? No. Because you can't eat it whenever. If it's winter or summer.
Yeah, why would he? I did think about this before too.
So, think about it. When can you not eat it?
You go into the masjid
When do you go to the masjid?
every day.
Time to prayer.
Huh? When it's time to pray.
Right.
You don't go to the masjid. I mean, you go to the masjid when it's time to pray.
Right.
And you can't eat it when it's
Time to pray.
time to pray. Right? You can't eat it when it's time to pray. You can eat it other times, but you can't eat it when it's time to pray.
Right.
So this is like a conclusion of the times of prayers. Right?
Okay.
You can't eat it when it's time to pray. Because that's when you need to go to the masjid. And even though the madhab is that you don't have to go to the masjid, you can't eat this when it's time to pray, because that's when you should be going to the masjid. So that could be the reason why you mentioned this in the chapter of times, because it's time to pray, you can't eat it, right? Just like before alcohol was haram, you couldn't drink when it was what? Time to pray, right? Like, what does this hadith about covering the face got to do with anything?
Maybe your breath stinks. You're covering it.
This hadith was mentioned because somebody might say, well, it's time to pray, and I've been told not to go to the masjid, but I'll just cover my mouth.
Right.
Can I just get rid of it by covering it up?
Probably not.
No, meaning I can't get rid of the smell, but meaning can I get rid of the ruling by just going like this?
You don't have to.
Now you can't smell my breath.
It's cheating. No,
It's
you
cheating.
You already ate. You ate it.
I ate it,
Yeah.
but
You ain't hurting nobody.
but you said the why was because I was bothering y'all. The why I can't do it, it's not just because I ate it, it's because it was bothering
Yeah,
y'all.
you ain't bothering us.
So now, I'm not bothering you.
I'm still conflicted by the reason why the Prophet forbade it, because he talks to the Jibril,
Right, that's why he wouldn't eat it.
but he did not make it.
Haram for you, you don't talk to Jibril.
Right, but he made it impermissible to eat it when you're going to pray.
Well, he didn't make it impermissible when you eat it to go to pray. That's the argument.
I mean to go to the masjid.
That's what I'm saying. That's the argument. He didn't make it impermissible to eat it before going to the masjid. That's our opinion. He forbade it. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference between impermissible and forbade. He told you don't do it. I agree with that. But when he told you not do it, did he mean it's haram or did he mean it's better not to? I say he meant haram. Somebody else would just say he meant it's better not to. And then we ask, well, why is it haram or why is it better not to? One of the reasons I say it's haram because it's haram to bother a Muslim. It's haram to bother a Muslim. And so this smell is going to do what? Bother a Muslim, it's haram. Other people say, no, it's not haram because going to the masjid is wajib. And if it was wajib, then eating this would be haram, and it's not haram. And so it's makruh. And so it's just disliked to go to the masjid stinking like garlic.
But you still not doing
All right? Don't do it, but if you did it, there's no sin.
Okay, getting back to just covering your mouth.
And so we say, well, why can't I do it? They say, because you're bothering the Muslims. But I really love garlic.
So you mitigated it.
So I'm just going to cover my mouth.
perfume on too.
I'm just going to cover my mouth. If I talk right now, you can't smell my breath. That was the whole problem, because you could smell my breath. Now you can't smell my breath. That seems like a logical justification.
Isn't that similar to what you said about the gold and silver?
No, because this is a logical justification. This is something that makes sense, if not for one thing. If not for one thing. What's the one thing?
The angels.
Forbade what?
Eating.
No. You said the why is because of the smell.
Right.
I've gotten rid of the smell that's offensive. That makes sense. What I just did is okay.
Forbade because of the harm.
Right? The harm is mitigated. So that would be okay. Looking at the surface, you would tell me that's okay. Why is that not okay?
Brain ain't thinking that fast.
If you say coming to the masjid when you stink is haram. There's two ways to get rid of you stinking. Clean yourself or stop everybody from smelling you. Right? I can clean myself and now I don't stink. Or I can do something that stops everybody else from smelling me and now I don't stink. To them. Right? Malaika ain't gonna smell when I cover my mouth. I've solved the problem. That should be a valid remedy. Why did Imam Malik bring this hadith here? That's the question. Why did Imam Malik bring this narration here?
Because
you can't what?
have something over your mouth.
You can't cover your mouth in salah. It's haram to cover your mouth in salah. So even though this you might thought I solved it. I'll eat garlic and I'll just cover my mouth.
Right.
No, that would have been okay, except that it's haram to cover your mouth in salah.
What if you yawn?
So during
Huh?
COVID or after COVID, we have
Those are the conversations we're about to talk about. It's haram to cover your mouth in salah. That's why this hadith is here. You see what I'm saying? Because on the surface, you look at it like it don't make sense. Why is he talking about covering your mouth along with the hadith of garlic in the times of salah?
That's time to cover your mouth when you're going to the ruku or somebody else.
القرآن الكريم يا أيها الذين آمنوا خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد.
هذه الزينة.
عند كل صلاة.
أي ملابس.
الملابس والريحة الطيبة.
نعم هذا مسلم.
هذا مسلم.
لكن السؤال هل يجوز تغطية الفم في الصلاة؟ لا يجوز. لكن الذي أكل الثوم أو أكل البصل حرام عليه أن يدخل المسجد.
هذا القصد يستبعد أكل الثوم والبصل في وقت الصلاة.
وقت الصلاة. لكن هذا الذي أكل في وقت الصلاة يريد أن يدخل المسجد. كيف يدخل المسجد؟ إما أن نمنعه.
لا
نستطيع. غبت عن هذا الجزء من الدرس. نستطيع. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم منعهم من المسجد. أبعدهم حتى إلى البقيع. لكن هذا مسكين يريد أن يدخل. يقول والله يريد أن أصلي مع الناس. فهو يفكر يقول خلاص أغطي فم. نقول هذا فكرة طيب لولا الحديث. لولا الحديث ينهى عن هذا لكان فكرة طيبة. and هذا هو السر في إيراد إمام مالك هذا الحديث في هذا المكان. لأن هذا الحديث لا يناسب الباب وقوت الصلاة. لماذا ذكر حديث تغطية الفم في وقوت الصلاة؟ ما يناسب. Like, the reason he brought this hadith in this circumstance, in this chapter, is to show that you can't eat garlic when it's time to pray. And just in case you thought, well, I can solve that problem just by covering my mouth, don't forget, covering your mouth is haram. Play. What does he prove? What does he use to prove it with? قال إمام مالك قال أبو مصعب حدثنا مالك عن عبد الرحمن بن المجبر عن أنه قال كان سالم ابن عبد الله إذا رأى الإنسان يصلي وهو يغطي فاه جذب الثوب جذبا شديدا حتى ينزعه عن فيه. عبد الرحمن بن المجبر وهو كان يتيم. عبد الرحمن بن المجبر was an orphan who was raised by Salim. Right, his father Abdul Rahman or al-Mujabbar, after he died, Salim raised him. So he was an orphan raised by Salim, raised by his uncle. He said, I used to see Salim when somebody would pray and they were covering their mouth, he would snatch the garment down off of their mouth like that. كان ينزع جذب الثوب جذبا شديدا with force, with violence, a violent snatch. He would rip it off of their mouth حتى ينزعه عن فيه, until he could remove it from their mouth. Before we get into the applications of the hadith, we have the first thing. Kana Salim. What's that show? Kana. What's the show?
He used to always do it.
Consistency. Right? Consist. Not something that was a one-off. Kana. This was something that would happen. That shows that people would do it, and he would have a custom. Right? Every time somebody leave, Kana Abdul Hakim used to throw our shoes away when we leave them in front of the masjid. Right? Yeah. It's a custom that he had. He did it constantly. Doing it constantly is going to be important because it shows what? The fact that it was something that he would do constantly shows that it's what?
No.
Yeah, it shows that he's not doing this out of a mistake or a guess. It's something that he has what he believes foundation to do. كان إذا رأى الإنسان. طيب. إنسان. What's that mean?
People.
Even a woman.
Even the women. Even the women. Now, does it mean that Salam would snatch the hijab, the niqab off the woman? It doesn't necessarily mean that he would do it, but the way that this is worded is that he would do it. Right? Anybody can إذا رأى الإنسان يصلي. That shows us that he will only do this in what? During the salah. Right? That's going to be important. All of these are little subtle things that are going to make a difference in the rulings that we build off of it. جذب الثوب. Here the word is جذب. In the riwayah of Yahya ibn Yahya al-Laythi, he says jabadha. Jadhaba and jabadha. Both words mean the same thing. The issue, it means to snatch, right? The issue is it the same word or different words? Some of them say they're two different words that just mean the same thing. While other scholars say, no, this is something that is known amongst the Arab as al-qalb wal-ibdal. Flipping up letters and changing them around, right? Like if you ever met somebody from Sudan, when they want to get married, what they say? Kaifa Jozuka, right? Instead of Zojik, they say Uridu an Ujowiz. Uridu an Ujowiz, right? Instead of Uridu an Atazowij, Uridu an Atajowiz. And this is because they flipped the letters. Even though Jowaza has a different meaning, right? They mean by it marriage. And so all they did was flip the letters. And this is something that's common in Arabic. There's a lot of words where they'll flip the letters. And then they have another thing that they do in Arabic called ibdal. Well, they'll take one letter and just put another letter there that's similar, right? Sirat, zirat, sirat, right? They'll change the letters, just it's asbahan, asfahan, right? Just change the letter, they're close enough. They have another thing that they do in Arabic is when they'll drop a letter from the word. And we're not talking about weak letters. They'll drop a healthy letter from the word. فَمَا اسْطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ وَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقَبًا. Right? هَذَا تَأْوِيلُ مَا لَمْ تَسْطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبَرًا. Instead of تَسْتَطِعْ. He gets rid of the letter. Right? تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. It should be what? تَتَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. They do these things for wisdoms and benefits, and it's important to know them because if you don't know them, it can make it hard to know what the word is and its origin when you don't know what the word is, right? And these are just styles of the Arabic language. So when this narration here says jadaba and the other narration says jabada, is it a flipped that was known amongst the Arab? Or are they two separate words that have the same meaning? Either way, the meaning doesn't change. Jadhaba thoba, jadhban, what did he snatch down? The thob, right? We're going to have an issue that comes off of this. Jadhban shadidan, how would he snatch it off? Sorry. Not that violent, right? Jadhaba thoba, jadhban shadidan. For what purpose? Why would he do that? حتى ينزعه عن فيه. طيب. In order to remove it off the person's mouth. Benefits before we talk about the issues. Anybody got a benefit in this hadith? It's a real nice benefit in this hadith. Kind of like the benefit we talked about stopping people from coming to the masjid. One of them things that it's a nice benefit for me.
You can check people physically.
Changing the munkar with your hand. Okay. That's
How
good.
they were back in the day.
How were they back in the day?
They were hard, man.
They were hardcore, right? They were salaf. They were
shadid.
not necessarily shidda, but shidda in its place.
You put it here, do that to somebody here.
That's what I'm saying. Shidda in its place. Like everything is not always hugs and kisses. Sometimes it's shidda. How you know sometimes they were shidda? He said you snatch it. He wasn't, sound like no samaht. If you could, the Prophet ﷺ said, take it off your face when you're in prayer. No samah. Now, who could do it though? Who could do it?
Somebody who has the
Somebody who had that kind of position amongst the people. Was somebody going to respond back to Salim like that? No. Was it just Fulan and Alan in the masjid going around snatching people's thobes off their face? No. Right? Somebody who has that position can get away with doing that. And so when the youth, they read this hadith, they say, oh, ya akhi, I'm going to the masjid, I'm going to start checking folk.
Or the Khawarij.
Right? Like the Khawarij. That's why we say the youth. Or the Thawul Asna. Right? They think that they can do that because Salim did it. Umar did it. He used to beat people all the time. That's Umar. Al-Faruq. When you get to the level of Faruq in your community, then you can start snatching people's garments off their face. You can start hitting people in their chests and whipping the people who don't line up straight. Until then, Ya akhi, lo samahat. The Prophet ﷺ said, you shouldn't do this. Right? Because that's all you can do in that situation. That's who you are in your position. Right? And so knowing that wisdom, but it shows that they would use shiddah at the appropriate time. So the people who claim that, you know, the brothers are too severe, they're too stern, they're too strict. No, there's a time for strictness. It's still something better though. For good benefits, still something better. Read the words. One of the ways to like gain, stop at every word and see what kind of benefits can I get. Like they said all them words for a reason. Kana, I got a benefit out of kana. Insan, I got a benefit out of insan.
Was he in prayer too?
He wasn't in prayer, but the other person.
No, because I was thinking, إذا كان رأى الإنسان, that he would look in during his prayer if he did that, if he wasn't praying.
Potentially, but it doesn't seem like he was in prayer. But potentially, but either way, the other person was. Fixing somebody in salat. If you were in prayer, can you fix somebody in salat? Yes.
You yourself?
You in prayer and they're in prayer. Can you fix them?
I don't know.
Ibn Abbas prayed with the Prophet ﷺ and prayed where? On the wrong side. The Prophet did what? Fixed him. If you're in prayer and somebody's praying wrong, you fix somebody in prayer all the time. Subhanallah. For the women. Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'zam al-a'la. What are you doing? You're fixing them.
True, but what if he's doing one of these?
Huh? Are you praying next to him?
Yes.
And are you in the position amongst your people that if you fix his arm, no bad is going to happen? Fix his arm. The Salaf would do things like that. If you were praying with your son, you see what I'm saying? And your son is praying wrong in the salat, straighten him out, fix him. It's okay. Because the Salaf would do that. If the person is praying and you're not, and you see them doing something wrong, can you fix them? Yeah. They're reciting Quran wrong in the salat. Can you correct them from outside of the salat? Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'zam. Akhi a'la. Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la. Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la. Can you do that when they're praying and you're not?
If you can fix them during prayer, why wouldn't you be able to fix
Some people say no, you can't correct them from outside of the salat.
them? Really?
But we say no, you can correct them. Right? You see somebody doing something wrong, facing the wrong way. What can you do? Straighten them out. You see somebody not covering properly. Their back is out in the salat, exposed. Pull their shirt down.
If you're in position.
Somebody has braids in their hair. What did Abu Rafi do to Hassan? Start undoing his braids in the salat. Hassan cuts his eyes at him. Don't look at me like that. You can talk to somebody while they're praying. They can't talk back, but you could talk to them. Right? Kulluhu li haja. We're not saying you're just going to sit there and have a conversation, but these are things that it doesn't invalidate your salat, their salat, and it's for a purpose. Right? And how do we know it can happen? Because people, when they had their mouth covered, Salim would do what? Remove the garment away from their mouth. With force. Why would he do it with force?
He's mad.
It's kind.
Could be mad. It could be, I'm tired of seeing these people praying correctly. And it could also be doing it with force is more effective in certain circumstance to get the lesson across. Why would the Prophet give the khutbah with red eyes and yelling like he's warning about an army?
People engaged, maybe, or
To get people engaged. Some people, they give the khutbah, alhamdulillah, brothers, we should be thankful to Allah. Should we be thankful to Allah?
yes.
Absolutely. Allah has blessed us with so many blessings. You say, alhamdulillah, that's true. That's not how to propagate a khutbah. Why? Because the force in it, that the minbar, well, I don't want to break it, the minbar would shake, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Right? And even though he wouldn't necessarily be animated with his fingers and stuff like that, he would grab the minbar and he would be so violent the minbar would shake. Because sometimes that shiddah, that aggression, is what is more effective in getting the message to stick. Right? And so all of these are just asalib. And this hadith gives, or this ether gives us an usloob. But we still have a problem. Is this a hadith? This ain't no proof. This is the statement of Salim. It's a tabi'i. Rahimahullah. The fact that his father is Abdullah the Sahabi doesn't mean that his statement is proof. He's snatching people's garments off of their mouth without any proof. This is not a hadith. There's no two ifs, ands, or buts about it. He did not mention anywhere in this narration that the Prophet said. Prophet did, the Prophet approved of. Why did Imam Malik bring this? First question, is there a hadith in this issue? This topic is known as a talathum fi salat, or a tanaqqub fi salat. Wearing a litham in salat. First, there's a hadith in Sunan Abi Dawood and Ibn Majah. The hadith has weakness in it. They disagree about it, and perhaps they say it's weak. That Abu Hurairah, he said that the Prophet ﷺ naha and yughatti rajulu fahu fi salat. That the Prophet ﷺ forbade a person covering their mouth in salat. All right, that's the prohibition. What kind of prohibition? First question is prohibition of haram or prohibition of karaha. The majority say it's a prohibition of karaha. It's a prohibition of karaha. Even though there isn't anything clear that removes it from being haram, except it's not authentic.
Oh, it's not?
Right. If you say it's not authentic, the majority say it's not authentic. And so if you say it's not authentic, it's hard to say it's haram. And so we'll say it's makruh, right?
I see, yeah.
That's why, because a person might look and say, well, there's nothing here that supports us moving it from haram to karah. Prophet said, don't do it, don't do it. But the narration is weak. And so how can we say something is haram when we don't have no really strong proof about it? And it's similar to the topic of kef thob wa sha'r fi salat. Rolling up your garment or tying up your hair during the salat. The Prophet forbade that. But the scholars say that that action is what? Makruh. It's not haram. Because they would do what with their izars during the salat? They would roll them. That's how you tie them. You see what I'm saying? And some of them would pray with braids in their hair. So it's not haram. It's just makruh. And so they say that this issue is similar, the issue of covering the mouth. Tayyib, what is considered covering the mouth? Covering, well, we're not talking about what can be used yet. The Shafi'iyya say covering the mouth is covering the mouth. A talathum is taghtiyatul fam, that you just cover the mouth. The Ahnaf and the Hanabila, they say it has to be the mouth and the nose. The mouth and the nose. Right? So when you say covering a talathum, it's including both of them. While the Malikiyya, they say it's the bottom lip.
That's it?
If you covered the bottom lip, you covered your mouth.
Yeah, but not full.
Bottom lip, you covered your mouth.
In the Arab world, that's some of them.
Huh?
In the Arab world, بعضهم يتلثم لهنا
Yeah.
لغاية الآن.
Yeah.
بعضهم لهنا بعضهم لهنا.
And so for them, like there's a difference because you say, okay, well, like we'll talk about the mask. People who wear their mask below their nose, right? During Corona, everybody had their mask below their nose on their chin or something like that. right? Is it talathum in salah? According to the Shafi'iyya, la, they got to cover the whole mouth. And according to the Hanabila and Ahnaf, they got to cover the mouth and the nose. But according to the Malikiyya, no, that's still talathum, right? So, we know what talathum is. It's either just the mouth, or the mouth and the nose, or even just the bottom lip, right? If you have a turtleneck, or you have your shamag and you throw it around your chin, and it's covering the bottom of your lip, it's talathum, ya akhi, right? Yeah. Yeah, like somebody does like that in the salat. Yeah. Like, especially because, remember, this topic was brought for what? Somebody trying to cover the smell. Or not smell somebody else's. You don't got bad breath, but the guy next to you got bad breath. What do?
Cover your mouth.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Right? I got to cover my mouth. So, the next question is covering the mouth general for whatever you use or just for separate items? Meaning, هل يستوي في الحكم المنفصل أو حتى المتصل? Can I go like this in salah?
What if you're yawning?
We didn't get there yet. Can I go like this in salah?
Just hold it like that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you cover.
Somebody comes in and they stink.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
All right. Can I go like that in salah? Right? Or is that considered talathum? Right? The majority, they say that covering the mouth includes whether it's the hand or a separate garment. Right? Meaning something that's not connected to your body. Anything that you use, even if it's your hand.
Is it worse if it's the hand?
I don't know about it being worse. It's included in the prohibition. But they make an exception when there is a need. Right? And remember, we said, according to them, they say it's makruh. So, it's no sin, like closing the eyes in salah. Should you do that?
No.
But it's makruh. And that karaha goes away when there's a need.
Right.
You're praying in the park, and a naked woman runs by.
Right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to be distracted by that in my salat. You see something, yani mulhi, something that's distracting, that's bothersome.
Yeah, like a kid or something.
Right.
Looking at you or something.
You're in the back row, and that kid in front of the President of the Nations. You're like you can't. You don't kick him and push him out the way. So I'm gonna close my eyes. You open, he's still just looking right at you.
Just don't laugh.
You know, the brother was bringing up saying that it helps concentration.
It can help with concentration, but that's not a good enough reason by itself, according to the majority of them. Right? Try to concentrate without closing your eyes, by focusing on what you're saying, knowing what it means, thinking about Allah. But if there's something that is actively distracting, and this is just the majority. Some people will say, yeah, it helps with concentration, so that's a good enough reason to close your eyes. But the Prophet didn't close his eyes, generally speaking. But if there's something that is distracting you, and you can't get rid of it, the only thing you can do is close your eyes. And so they say the same thing, like if there's a reason to cover your mouth, then cover your mouth. Like, for example, yawning. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, when one of you yawns, then let him cover his mouth, because the shaitan tries to go in. So in salat, if you can't hold back your yawn with the, then you cover your mouth, right? But that's a need. The question is, what else are needs? The kumama, the N95, the mask, is that a need?
Yeah.
Okay. If you say it's a need, then it's a need, and it's okay. What about the people who say the mask didn't help?
Ooh. Then it's not a need.
Then it's not a need. You shouldn't wear it.
But you were told or led.
Yeah, what if you're told by the...
If you believe it's a need, or you don't know no better, or not better, or you don't know and you believe the people who told you, then you believe it's a need. What if you're a scientist who says the mask has no value? The mask has no value. It doesn't help. Unless it's an N95, it has no value. having it on and having it off has no value for you to keep you from getting sick.
Okay, but the authorities still tell you to put it on. What you gonna do?
The authorities tell you to put it on.
Yes.
In the salat?
Have it on all the time. That's what they want.
The authorities tell you
Where
to
go
put
to
it
a
on
building,
in
whatever.
the salat.
Yeah, you go to any public place.
Then I would do it. The authorities tell you to put it on in the salat because they believe it's a need.
Even if they're kuffar.
They believe it's a need and they're thinking about the community. So even though I might be the exception or I might disagree, I'm still going to follow the jama'ah, just like Eid. Eidukum yawm Eidukum yawm Eid an-nas. Right? The day of your Eid is the day of the people. Even if I saw the moon, I'm still going to do what?
People.
Or maybe not if I saw the moon. Even if I think that the moon was saw on a different day, I'm going to follow my community, right? So if the leadership says it, then I would probably listen. But if there's no hard, fast rule, it's just social. You see what I'm saying? Because like when the mask first started with Corona, it wasn't a hard, fast rule. It was social. And in the beginning, some people said, even the doctor said the masks don't do anything. And then when it seemed like it was getting worse and you got to do something. You can't just not do nothing because everybody's going to criticize you if you do nothing. They said, you know what, wear the mask. It reduces it.
You're referencing 95 because of SARS.
No, N95 is what they say was the only real mask that helped against Corona. The other mask, according to some people, when it first happened, people were saying the mask doesn't actually help. Now, whether they were saying that because it was true or they were saying that because they wanted to avoid panic.
The reason was SARS then.
No, when Corona first happened. I'm talking about when Corona first happened.
That was 2020.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
You said 95.
Yeah, you said
No, N95 is a type of mask.
Oh, N95.
Yeah, N95 is a type of mask.
Yeah.
So when it first happened, people were like, oh, what is it? And, people were like, well, masks don't help because you have a bunch, like you ever seen like the Asian people on the airplanes, they're always wearing a mask.
That was
And-
SARS, yeah.
And it'd be like, that mask ain't helping against nothing. And you don't want people all to be panicked, so you say don't wear a mask. Now, if that's the reason they were doing it, or they were doing it because they believed it didn't really help, in the beginning, that's what they said. As time went on, it became, you gotta wear a mask, right? It helps. They changed their opinion. Now, it could be that they really believed that it does help and they changed their opinion, or it could be because we can't just be looking to see like we doing nothing. Right? In politics, you can't just be seen as we had Corona, people dying, we ain't try to do nothing. We was just like, y'all, it's Qadar Allah ma shafa. So we gotta say something, wear a mask. And that's why you saw them bans and them like isolation and quarantines come down real hard in certain places because it was like, look, we gotta look like we doing something. And so before it was mandatory by the government, if you were a person who didn't believe the mask had a benefit, should you cover your mouth? Question. If you didn't believe it had a benefit, no, don't cover your mouth. Akhis. Now, if somebody next to you believed that it had a benefit, could they cover their mouth?
Yes.
Perfect. And like this, you see that Islam, it has an answer for everything. It has an answer for tolerance. Everybody's fine. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. You governmental, you stoogey, you ignorant fool. Right? Akhi, you think it helps? Use it. In salah. You think it don't help? You don't got to use it. Instead, not using it would probably be more recommended for you because covering your mouth is disliked in salah, if not haram. But why is it haram or disliked to cover your mouth in salah? Anybody ever asked that question? Why?
Because you're moving.
Huh?
Because you're moving, maybe in your salah.
Just think of your general answer. Because you're moving. You cover your body in salah.
I'm saying you're not supposed to move for reasons that other than the salah.
You don't move your mask when it's in salah.
So you can recite clearly, maybe?
Because before that.
You moving out, you're supposed to.
Before that. Does the rule apply to women?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. The rule applies to women. They should not cover their face and their hands in salah.
So they're not covering the car.
No niqab in salah. Right? Same thing at Hajj. No gloves, no niqab. The rule applies to women. You should not cover your face in salah. Some of them go as far as to say if a person covers their entire face in salah to where their forehead can't touch the ground, their salat's invalid.
Even if it's just a cloth?
if you've covered your face in salat,
Like that.
and you make sujood, is your forehead touching the ground?
It is touching it, but
Is
through.
your forehead touching the ground?
No.
Salat batil.
But
Shafi'i say salat batil.
what about when you have an imama that's thick and your forehead's touching?
Part of your forehead still touching,
Yeah, that's what I'm
and
saying.
you didn't cover your face. We're talking about somebody who put that ski mask on. They put on a shiesty,
Okay.
and now they ain't got nothing touching the ground. Shafi'i said salat batil.
Right.
Because, you know, this was your argument last week. I've been commanded to prostrate on 7. And you're not prostrating on your forehead.
Same ruling with the gloves.
I don't know. What they mentioned was the forehead. What they mentioned was the
But
forehead.
even you got the clothes on your knees.
What they mentioned was the forehead.
All right, man, I'll give you that. You got it.
And I didn't say everybody, but Shafi'i, the Shafi'i, they say, that's why I say some of them go as far as, right? Some of them go as far as to say, if you cover your face, your salat is not valid.
There's an ether.
Huh?
There's an ether here. I read it and I.
Go ahead. A fitna.
Fitna.
Give us the benefit. A fitna.
I thought you said fitna.
Fitna.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this?
كان علقمة يحبس وجهه في ثوبه وهو محرم.
وهو محرم.
محرم.
يحبس وجهه في ثوبه وهو محرم. That's different. But Alqama is one of the people, not Alqama, Ikrimah is one of the people, because there's a lot of people who have the opinion that you can't cover your face. Some scholars say it's okay to cover your face in salat. Because the hadith is what? And if there's no proof, there's no proof. But there's a lot of scholars who hold the view that you can't cover your face. And we didn't mention who they were, but like people like from the Sahaba and Tabi'een, there's a lot of them. The point of it is that I wanted to say that the rule applies to women, but you'll see the scholars allowing them to cover their face in the proximity of men during salat or while making hajj.
Yeah.
So even if she's in salat, she can still cover her face if men are looking at her, right? Because covering the face is what?
No,
Makruh in salat.
Oh, in salat.
It's makruh in salat. And concealing yourself from men is what? According to those of us who say it's wajib. So they can cover their face in salat or during ihram. And that's what Aisha used to do. She said we would have our faces uncovered for either قَابَلَنَا الرِّجَالِ نُسْدِي عَلَيْنَا, right? We would cover ourselves while in ihram. So now that we know that the rule is general for men and women, the question goes back to why. Why is it haram?
Hold on, clearly.
Some of them say it interferes with your recitation of Quran and your dhikr. If you got something on your face, Allahu Akbar, right? Allahu Akbar, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, right? And so they say that this interferes, it muffles your dhikr and your recitation of Quran, and so that's what makes it disliked. That's what some people say. But somebody can say, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. It didn't affect. Right?
Well, you're in the back, you're not leading salah.
Huh?
Or you're not leading the salah.
You still got to make dhikr. You still got to say Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, but
You still got to recite
it doesn't
Fatiha.
have to be for so people.
You still got to recite. They didn't say it makes it so you can't hear it. They say it messes up what you say.
Okay, I got you.
Right? You still got to recite Fatiha.
Yes.
You still got to recite Fatiha. So that's one reason, but that's kind of weak. Some of them mention that it's tashabbuh bil majus, that they used to do that. They used to cover their mouths and cover their faces in prayer. But that's not necessarily true, because it's not from the Prophet that is, and it's not, you know what I mean, who said the Majus did it? We need to find out, is that from their way of life, right? There's a hadith that says that the Prophet forbade us from covering our mouths in salat, and said that is khatmu shaitan. That is the khatm of shaitan. That's the nose or the beak, the snout of the shaitan, right? The shaitan covers his nose like this by covering his mouth and his nose and covering his nose. Ala kayfiyatin ya'lamuhu Allah, right? That being said, can you compare
That's Sahih.
that? It's mentioned. Right, you go do the research. Sahih and not Sahih, unfortunately, for the most part, isn't our goal right now. It's knowing why people, because we're not talking about it as a proof for the reason or not to do the reason. We're talking about why some people say it's haram. Right? We know that the hadith about covering your mouth is not authentic.
Right.
So if this hadith about it being the snout of the shaitan was authentic, then it would be an authentic proof that you can't cover your mouth. Or, you see what I'm saying? But we know there's no strong proof that you can't cover your mouth. So then that must mean this hadith has some weakness in it as well. Right? But they mention that it's the snout of the shaitan. The shaitan either resembles the shaitan in how he looks, or it's an action that the shaitan does. And either way, imitating the shaitan is haram. Right?
Got a question.
Fadl.
This athar here, it doesn't mention why he did it.
That one doesn't. That's the point of what we're talking about. Why is he snatching people's face? Because he has the opinion that it's what?
Not permissible.
Not permissible. And not just nahi karaha, nahi tahrim. It would seem that in his position it's haram. Because other than that, would you snatch somebody's clothing off their face? Remember Umar beating people in salat at dhuhr, before dhuhr, or after asr. Why would he beat them for salat after asr? What was the argument that they made? Because he believed it was what? Haram. Can you physically transgress against somebody for something that's makruh? Just imagine if I just snatch your kufi off of your head. Is that dhulm? That would be dhulm. Where your kufi belong. And if I take it off, I put it where it don't belong, without your permission. So to snatch somebody's garment off of their face in the salat, it shows you that Salam thinks it's what? Haram. Right? And so even though the narration is not the most authentic, you see what I'm saying? Even though there's weakness in the narration,
Right.
there is support from the action of people like Umar and Abdullah bin Umar and Salim ibn Abdullah and Hassan al-Basri and Ikrimah and Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. They all held this opinion that doing so was impermissible. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, is it haram? I'll be scared to say it's haram. تفضل.
لماذا ذكر الثوب وليس اللثام؟
لأن الثوب كلمة عام لكل يعني ما يصنع من قماش.
هو الثوب من اللباس.
لا ثوب كل شيء. حتى هذا ثوب.
ثوب.
حتى هذا ثوب. Right? Because من اللف إن لم أكن مخطئ.
بالعربية أعرف اللثام.
اللثام هو الذي خاصة يوضع في الفم على الفم.
أما الثوب لللباس.
لا هذا العربية اليوم العادي. Right? The normal Arabic today, this is a thawb.
No.
Right? وهذا إزار وهذا بنطلون وهذا سراويل. لكن قديما الثوب عام لكلها. If I'm not mistaken, they call it thawb min thawaba, which means to cover or to wrap. That's why tatha'ub. Right? Tatha'ub is what? Right? But let's see. I want to see what the origin of the word thawb is.
I was using this thawb as well. Like, how did he use his thawb?
Yeah, no, you got to remember, like their thawb, they didn't wear this. They wore an izar and rida. And that was their thawb. Hada qamis. They didn't wear a qamis. Right? They wore a rida. They wore this. They would open this up. It would be longer than my crease gonna fall out, but كان عنده رداء يعني بسامية, right? It's not Bassam. Who is this? منذر. كان عنده يعني رداء منذرية اشتراه من السعودية من الكويت. They just wear this, and they have another one wrapped around their waist, right? إزار ورداء. But the word thawb is مقاييس اللغة الثاء والواو والباء قياس صحيح من أصل واحد وهو العود والرجوع. Like I say, like that wrapping, that the word thawb is from the origin of it is to go back and to return. And that's because your clothes, to get them to stay on your body, what are you doing? You're wrapping them around. And remember, we covered that one hadith. I'm trying to remember what hadith it was. As-salatu ala thawb. Man salla ala thawbihi. And they were talking about the hasir, the mat, right? Because that's all it was. It's just, if I spread this out, if I lay it on my shoulder, it's a shirt. If I lay it on the ground, what is it now? It's a mat. It's a rug, right? It's just, right? It's not, you got to remember that their realities of details weren't necessarily like ours. طيب, على كل حال, I think that's pretty much it. We talked about the why. Oh, as far as the why, comparing to it, right? If you say that it's because it resembles the shaitan or the majus, then that leans to it being haram, because resembling them is haram. If you say that it's because it stops you from being able to articulate your recitation well, then that could be just makruh. You see what I'm saying? But the Sahaba who held that position and the Tabi'een that held that position, it seems that they took it to be haram. But the majority of the fuqaha today, they say it's just makruh. And they compare it to the issue of rolling up your garment in salat or closing your eyes in salat. And so if you see somebody doing it, should you go and snatch it off their face? Especially because you're not Salim, and they might have a different opinion. But Salim, did he ask them about their opinion? Did he ask them were they sick? Did he ask them any of those questions? He just did it. So that shows you that he believed that it was haram. طيب, I think that's it. I can't think of anything else in those narrations. حتى ينزعه أن في. Oh, no, we did jadaba. An example of ibdal, thum, the word thum, they flipped the letter from tha to fa. How you doing? Assalamu alaikum. Shajara, shayara, shayara. Yeah. Examples all throughout Arab.
Somali do that a lot.
Right.
But
But that's the thing. A lot of times we think it's just because they don't know how to talk. But it'd be classical roots in it, right?
استبدال بعض الأحيان في اللغة العربية بزيادة معنى الكلمة.
زيادة في الحرف يزيد في المعنى. نعم.
زيادة المعنى أنه زيادة في الشدة الجذب.
أكيد. Right. It's a principle in Arabic to add a letter adds to the meaning. Or whatever you do to the bunya of the kalima, it alters the meaning somehow. Right? Nazala, to come down. Anzala, to send down. Nazzala, to send down over and over. Right? قطعنا, right? Shidda. So that's the science of sarf is one of the best sciences too, because there's four types of ishtiqaq, and knowing them like changes the way you approach language, especially what they call an ishtiqaq al-akbar wal-kabir, where like words that aren't the same but have similarities, you'll find that they'll have similar meanings. Hadda hadtha, right? Is it qalb or is it two different words that have similar meanings? Madaha hamida. The letters are the same.
Do you have to consider the fireman?
Huh?
Do you have to consider the fire, the root?
That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about the roots. When the roots resemble,
Which is a verb.
it doesn't have to be a verb. We're just talking about the jadab, the usul, right? When the roots resemble, there'll be similarities in the word. I'm trying to think of something like, because there's a science, Ibn Jinni, he talks about it in his book. He's the one who really really talked about it the most. They call it ishtiqaq al-akbar, like words that are different words, but if they share two letters, or if they share two letters that resemble each other, they don't even have to be the same letters, but if they resemble each other fil makhraj, you'll find that the meanings are the same. Like ketaba and, I'm trying to think of something like baraka and bakara. They have the same letters, baraka and bakara. Some people criticize Ibn Jinni, said it's not true, but like, what is baraka? What is it? What is the origin of baraka? What is the origin? Like ما معنى الأصلي? What's its foundation? We know بركة, but what is بركة? زيادة.
الزيادة
والخير, الزيادة في الخير, right?
التفضيل.
What is بكرة?
بكرة بدرة
Huh?
في الوقت بكرة
تبكير,
تفكير
الجمل, بروك, الإبل, right? Virgin, bikr. All them things are what? Barak. All them things are better, right? All them things are good, right?
What about Baqarah?
Huh?
What about
Baqara, right? That's what I call
Right.
Bakara.
Are they similar?
One's a camel, one's a cow. One's a camel, one's a cow.
Okay.
Bakr. Abu Bakr. What's that? Camel. Abu Bakr. Right? And so you find that words, you'll find a lot of words, they'll, like, if they resemble each other by having 2 of the 3 of the same letters, or 2 of the 3 letters resemble each other in sound and makhraj and things like that, Ibn Jinni says it's constant. You'll find that there's a connection. And that's from the Ajaib al-Lugha. You trying to figure which way the Qibla is? So the Qibla is this wall right here, and this table line is the Qibla. So like right now, if you turn, you're at the Qibla. Yep. So yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. Like, so that's one type of ishtiqaq, and then they got ishtiqaq al-kabir and ishtiqaq al-awsat and ishtiqaq al-asghar, right? Idgham, all those type of things. Sarf is a great science, and it helps you. If you can master sarf, one word becomes 100, right? And it's the thing that connects one language to another. Because like what connects Arabic and Hebrew and Aramaic and Syrianic and all of those languages, what connects them is those usul. And once you start seeing the sarf of it all, other languages become easy, like French and Spanish and Latin. You'll see that connection and things just become clearer. And even in English, we have sarf in English, and it's nice. And it's amazing, like when you get to it, because like words that, like we get an argument all the time. The slave of Allah, right? Should you translate Muhammad Abdullah, the slave of Allah? Now,
Not to this situation.
to me, yes, because he is a slave the way that we use the word. He's mamluk.
Right.
But what does the word slave mean? Nowadays it means mamluk. What did it mean?
Unjust slavery.
Not at all.
عبيد معامل
لا لا نقصد الكلمة الإنجليزية slave نفسه.
المملوك.
لا.
The word slave you looked at me before.
Yeah. Slav.
Oh, Slav.
وهو جنس يعني قوم. It's a group of people, Slavs.
Slavic.
And the Slavs were what?
Slave.
So we just use that word to call them.
From Europe.
Yeah. We just took that word and called everybody who's a slave a Slav. Are you a Slav? That's Slav. Right? So, but the word slave comes from that word Slav. So technically, according to that logic, calling him the slave of Allah is not applicable. He's not a Slav. He's Abdullah, yani Mamlukullah, wa Abidullah, muta'abbid lillah. And so you could say the subject of Allah. Because subject means to put under authority. When somebody is under your authority, they are your what? They are subjected to you.
Mm-hmm.
And abd in Arabic, what does it mean? Nope. Tariqun muta'abbad. A path that is trampled underfoot. To be underneath. The word abada means to be under. Ta'abbad, right? To be put underfoot. Because if you were a slave, you were usually what? Underneath somebody, right? You were underneath their authority, underneath their control. So the origin of it is to be tadallul. Right? They say tariqun mu'abbad, tariqun mu'abbada. And so when you look at that, subject and abd have a closer correlation than abd and slave. even though slave is the way that we translate the word abd nowadays. So I like subject better than slave, even though slave to me is still a valid translation just because the way we, but like in English, like the way those words come across, if you're dealing with the translation, it helps, you know what I mean? Not like knowing those subtle differences, على كل حال جبت سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك.
At the beginning of the class, you was given an isnad. Zuri was Sahaba?
لا تابعي من صغار التابعين, from the young tabi'in. He only caught people like Anas and stuff like that.
He produced books.
Yes, he was the first one to compile hadith in books.
Any of them were preserved?
The books, no. But the narrations, yes. So, when we talk about the history of compiling hadith, in the beginning of Islam, writing hadith down was haram. The Prophet forbade the Sahaba from writing hadith. He says, whoever has written anything other than the Quran, فَلْيَمْحُ. Whoever wrote down anything other than the Quran needs to erase it. And they say that this was out of fear that something be mixed up from the Quran, that which wasn't from it. So this is from the wisdom of Allah in preserving the Quran, that the Prophet ﷺ didn't allow hadith to be written down early on in Islam. Had to be memorized. It keeps the Quran separate from the hadith, which is something that you found that the other religions fell into. You can't, with regards to Christianity, Judaism, you don't know where the wahi ends and the narrations begin, right? Musa in the Bible, they have parts that are from what they consider to be the Torah and parts that are biographies. See what I'm saying? The biography isn't the kalam of Allah. And so that's how they lost part of the speech of Allah. Likewise, the Christians, the same thing, right? They would have statements that were the gospel of Jesus, and then they would also have statements that are from the biography and things like that. So in the early stages of Islam, they weren't allowed to write hadith. Then, towards the end of the Prophet's life, he used to allow people to write hadith. So he allowed Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As to write hadith, and he had a book that he had. And Abu Hurairah said about him that nobody had more hadith than him. He was allowed to write when I wasn't. And also you have Uktub li Abi Shah. One of the Sahaba needed something from the Prophet. He told him, write it down for Abu Shah. And likewise, Ali, he had some hadith written down. And so this was, but during the life of the Sahaba, after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, the majority of the Sahaba disliked writing hadith as well. And they used to forbid their students from writing down hadith. And they would emphasize the memorization, because in the memorization, there was a stronger emphasis put on preserving. Because it wasn't just what you wrote, but it was also, did it correspond to that which was on the tongues of the people? And that's actually something that helped in its preservation more than hindered. Right? The enemies of Islam will tell you that no, the oral tradition of it is something that hindered it. But the reality of it is that a hadith wouldn't be a hadith unless everybody said the same thing. See what I'm saying? Whereas if it was written, one person can find a hadith, and then we talk about it in Gharib and things like that, but if we find something that's written from 100 years ago, it's still not, or from 1,000 yeyears ago, it's still not a hadith to us. If we find a book that nobody ever mentioned, and it has information in it that's cryo-dated to the time of the Prophet, we're still not going to accept it as a hadith. It's now where the people accepted it as a hadith before us. So anyway, so that's how it was during the time of the Sahaba. Then during the time of the Tabi'een, while there were still some Sahaba left, when fitna happened, right? And people started fabricating a lot more. People started making up hadith and like slipping it into the masses, right? A person who was an enemy of Islam or an evil person, or even people who thought they were doing good, would make up hadith, and because they were a next door neighbor of somebody or in a position, they could slip that in. And if you don't know the Islam, you don't know the science, if I tell you such and such told me, well, you think it's Islam. And so when that started to happen, the people started being a lot more cautious. And during that time, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, said, you know what? The Quran is done. There's no more Quran coming. The Quran's been preserved. Abu Bakr, Umar. It's there now. We got the Quran. We need to do the same thing to hadith. And so he commanded that hadith be written down, and he entrusted that to Az-Zuhri. And so Az-Zuhri was one of the first people to like actually combine hadith into a book where it's like, here go all of my hadith in one place. All of his hadith, he wrote them down in one place. He was from the most abundant of scholars of hadith at that time. Then after him, the scholars of hadith started doing different things. So while Az-Zuhri just wrote down all of his hadith without any necessary organization or method, he just wrote down what he had, scholars after him started writing down hadith about specific topics, which they call a juz, right? So I'm going to write down all of the hadith of this specific topic, or all of the hadith of this specific person. After that, people started saying, you know what, let's organize hadith by, like Imam Malik wrote the Muwatta. How you doing? Okay, see. So, you have Imam Malik writing the Muwatta, right? The Muwatta is a book that's on topic. But he included with the hadith, he included with it statements of the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, and his own opinions. Then, after that, people said, you know what, let's start writing hadith like they call Muslim. And so they started writing hadith organized by Sahaba until you get to the time after Imam Ahmed, where they started writing like Jawami and Sunan, where they would organize the hadith by topic. Some books being all the topics that they could think of in Islam, while other books being topics that are specific to Islamic law and jurisprudence. And then you had people said, you know what? Why stop at the hadith? We need to do the same thing with the statements of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een, because these are the Qur'an and Mufaddala. So they started writing books like the Musannafat. And then after that generation, so now you're like in the 300s. After that, people started saying, you know what? Let's write other versions of the books that exist from different chains with different paths to the same hadith as a way of emphasizing that this information that Bukhari had, it wasn't unique to Bukhari. And Bukhari didn't give us all of his hadith. He just gave us one or two hadith comparatively. You see what I'm saying? So let's write another book and let's use our chain to get the same hadith that Bukhari had. So they call those books Mustakhrajat, where a student will come and write the same book as his teacher using all different chains. And then some people say, well, you know what, look, Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawud, and they left some hadith out. There's a whole bunch of hadith that they don't have in their books. And so they started writing books that they call Mustadrakat, where they would get the other hadith that those individuals left out, like Mustadrak of Imam Hakim and Sunan al-Kubra al-Bayhaqi.
And it's determined is it Sahih or...
So they're still in the
chain.
they're still in the generation, they call it the Asr al-Isnad, the time period where the chain was still prevalent. So 300s now into the 400s, people are still narrating information with the snads. Bukhari's dead. He's gone. He died in 256. But it didn't stop with him, right? The way that nowadays, if you want a hadith, you just say Bukhari and that's it, right? You just say Abu Dawud, because we're 1,200 years removed from them. You see what I'm saying? But at that point, they were only 100 years removed from them. So a lot of their teachers met Bukhari. So when I tell you Bukhari said something, I'm not going to tell you Bukhari said something as the book Bukhari. I'm going to tell you Bukhari said something because my teacher told me that Bukhari told him. See what I'm saying? And so that was still the case when you get to people like al-Hakim and al-Bayhaqi and al-Qutni. They still have chains that get you back to the Prophet, but there's only like maybe 9 people in between them and the Prophet's also. Right? Bukhari, his highest chain, having 3. See what I'm saying? 3 people between him and the Prophet. By the time you get to al-Hakim, you might have 6 people in between him and the Prophet. So that's still a chain that people are going to use. Around 500, around the 6th century, 7th century, is where the usage of the chain kind of died down, where people are no longer relying on hadith by the chain, but instead are relying on hadith by the book. So we know the books. We know the scholars that were there in those generations, and we know what books they wrote. And so if you have a copy of that book with an authentic chain to that book, we'll accept it. But if you have a hadith from you to the Prophet directly, that's not in one of those books, I don't know. I'm not going to take it.
Oh, even if you got this now.
Yeah, because now we're so far removed, and you're telling me that all of these generations missed this hadith, and you the first person to narrate it. You see what I'm saying? So, like for example, today right now, I have chains back to the Prophet ﷺ. If I try to use one of my chains and make up a hadith that isn't in any of the books, you would say what? Come on. Like there's no way that this hadith made it from the Prophet ﷺ 1400 years ago to you, and nobody else put it in any book. Nobody else decided. Now, are there hadith that we might never know? Potentially. But everything that we need to know about the religion has been, what's the word? Not codified, what's the word?
Preserved.
Preserved, but it's a word with codified, I think, or documented is another word. It's like codified or something like that. Like it's been codex, it's been affirmed in the books.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to get a hadith that's not in the books.
Validated.
Yeah. So, during that stage of Islamic literature and hadith, the people went from compiling the hadith, which was the time period of the chain, to now working on the books that had already been done, extracting them, comparing them, showing that, okay, Bukhari wasn't unique in this hadith. This hadith is in 17 other books. See what I'm saying?
Jazakallah
I mean,
khair,
like
Sheikh.
that.
Inshallah.
Salaam
Yeah.
alaikum. Still ain't time for that done yet? We got 8 minutes. Like, so, yeah, I think that's the time right there. 8 minutes to the
20 minutes after that.
and then 20 minutes after. If you gotta go, it's understandable. Anyway, yeah. So during that time, they started doing what they call like taqrijat, and what they actually did, they started doing what they call kutub al-zawat. So they took the main books, and instead of using 100 different books, let's just use Bukhari and Muslim, and then take all the hadith that are in any other books that are Let's take all the other books, and instead of using 100 books, let's just take these 2 books, and then whatever hadith is in this book that isn't in those 2 books, let's take that out separate. We don't need the whole book anymore. Right? So they would take Bukhari and Muslim as the foundation, or Kutub al-Sitta as the foundation, and then they say, well, let's look at the Muwatta of Imam Malik. How many hadith are in the Muwatta that aren't in these 6? And they would take that out. And the Muslim of Imam Ahmad got 40,000 hadith in it, some say. That's too many hadith. We got Kutub al-Sitta. Let's just take out whatever hadith aren't in Kutub al-Sitta from Muslim Imam Ahmad and add it. And they came up with those additions. So during the 8th century, 9th century, everybody's working on what they call Zawat. And that's how you get books like Jami al-Usul and Kenz al-Ummal and stuff like that, where they're just books of hadith, where they're just trying to get all the hadith in one book. That's what the goal, try to get all the hadith in one book. They had other books like Kutub al-Ahkam. Instead of trying to get all the hadith in one book, everybody don't need all the hadith. You just need to know the hadith that you need to worship Allah with, right? So let's get all the hadith that deal with halal and haram in one book. And that's books like Bulugh al-Maram and al-Muharrar and stuff like that, where it's just a hadith al-Ahkam. And there's only like 1,000 of them, 1,900 of them, something like that. It's a limited amount. Like all the hadith that you need to be a scholar, quote unquote. See what I'm saying? Like to be a judge, to be a qadi or a hakim or a mufti. And that was the case until like 10th, 11th century. Like we mentioned the books of Taqrij, where they would take the hadith from other books and tell you where you could find it, because now people have stopped using books of hadith. And so you read a book that mentions hadith, but you don't know where the hadith is. Right? And so now how do you figure it out? You go to a book of Taqrij where they tell you, okay, Sheikh mentioned this hadith, you can find it in this book, this book, this book, and this book. And those are the books of Taqrij. And then after that, you come to like our current period, where our period is kind of maybe like a generation ago, especially during the time of Sheikh al-Albani and things like that. It became the period of Tasheeh, where they would take a book and grade it. Books that hadn't been graded before previously, where people would narrate hadith and you don't know if that hadith is authentic or not, has now been graded. So you can say, okay, this hadith has a grade, that hadith has a grade of authentic, weak or not. And then like nowadays, a lot of the work that people are doing in hadith is still tasheeh, but it's also a lot of compiling all the hadith of a specific topic, right? So like, for example, if I want to do the hadith of marriage, I'm going to gather all the hadith I can on marriage in one place, so that it's like you can see the whole issue of marriage with all of its evidences in one book. And so that's what a lot of people do nowadays. And like I say, the science of hadith and its progression as a field, it hasn't stopped. We're still working on hadith to this day. And there's still so many books that, you know, have yet to be explored. You talk about books like Tariq al-Damashq, right, by Ibn Asakir, 81 volumes, full of hadith, full of narrations, you know what I mean? When's somebody gonna go through that and, you know what I mean, extract everything that's in that and compare everything that's in that to all of the other books and things like that? It's a lot of work. But all of that to be said, alhamdulillah, Kutub al-Sitta is sufficient. Like, if you never had anything as far as worshiping Allah, if you never had anything other than Kutub al-Sitta, you wouldn't be missing a lot. You wouldn't be missing a lot. And that's why the people focus mostly on those books.